Alright everybody, welcome to the Stabcast. We are going to be doing a live play game today on Tabletop Simulator for the Invader League single elimination bracket. If you're on the Legion Discord, this game is going to be between BattleBear and SuperNerd. It is a clustered map that the players just got done building. We've got two very different Imperialists as they go through the guided setup on the mod that'll eventually bring us to our objective, condition, and deployment selection. And I think that's the next big sticking point. Players have discussed what terrain is going to look like and how they're going to implement each bit. And once they get to the objective section, we'll go over their lists and see what they might want to choose. Two really different Imperialists. We have a double commander with just a bunch of stormtroopers versus just a Veers with a bunch of stormtroopers and an ATST. So, all right, and we are now into the objective selection. This is actually one of my favorite parts of the game, where we have a choice of the grab the boxes, get the supplies, breakthrough, and one of the new ones, these guys having a little banter about how much they hate a hostile environment. Yeah, this is an interesting little setup for the way they want to play. And it looks like hostile environment has been eliminated. Since I'm a spectator, I don't think it flipped the card, but I believe it has been taken out. Both armies do sit on 8 activations, although they are a different 8 activations. Both of them are pretty trooper-heavied. Alright, so it looks like we're playing limited visibility, which makes sense that the player that doesn't have an ATSD forces limited invisibility. And recover supplies has been eliminated. So we've got one more ban that SuperNerd can make, and we'll see if he wants to play Disarray or sabotage the moisture evaporators. He does not want to play Disarray, which I'm a little surprised by, seeing he was running double commander. This objective is a little new. This is the one in the terrain pack coming out, where the players will place a handful of moisture evaporators, and one player is going to be trying to fix them while the other sabotages them, and will basically use damage counters to track the difference. And you can try to, for each, they'll start with 2 damage counters on each, and as you sabotage them, you get a point if you can get for each token that comes off, and if you can fix them, if you repair them, you're pulling tokens off, and if it has less than 2, you score points. And if you are trying to sabotage them, you can add more tokens, trying to break them to increase your score. So there will be 4 on the board, and each player will get to place 2. I believe the ruling is going to be 2 from each. Looks like it has to be range 2 of each other and 1 from the board edge. So, all right, let's go over some lists. So, first, as our blue player, we have BattleBear. He's going to be running just General Veers with the range 4 aura for orders and esteemed leader. We have 4 Stormtrooper brigades with no extra man, but the DLT and impact grenades ready for some anti-vehicles, which his opponent did not seem to bring, but these guys do have to play this entire list for the duration of the elimination bracket, so it's good to be prepared. 2 groups of snowtroopers with the ion gun and impact grenades, lots of vehicle hate. and then an ATST with the long-range comlink, the twin light blaster cannon, and the mortar launcher. This is an interesting list to me. It runs a little bit of leadership risk with only Veers, and I do find it interesting that we've got Veers with the commanding presence for the range 4, as well as 10 points for long range comm on the ATST. I'll be anxious to see if he's just going to be using commanding presence for his stormtroopers to really try to fan them out and engulf the map, or if he's really going to be playing his ATST far away from Veers. Looks like the players are deploying the moisture evaporators, as we have one behind this building. With the way these deployments are gonna pan out, man, looks like they're all getting stacked into a corner. Over on the red side of the table, we have SuperNerd, who's going by a different name on Steam, but on the Discord, where you guys can be following the bracket along, we've got a double commander list with a naked General Veers, pretty standard Darth Vader with saber throw and choke and reflexes. I've really enjoyed watching the different thought processes between Vader's taking choke over push. I think different arguments can be made for both, and just how you want to play the list. And then we've got a whole bunch of stormtroopers. We've got 2 sets of snowtroopers with the extra body, no heavy weapon, grappling hooks, and impact grenades. And then 4 groups of stormtroopers with the extra bodies, DLT-19s, concussion grenades, and environmental gear. Man, I dig environmental gear. I dig it a lot. So it looks like we have got all 4 moisture evaporators kind of in the center to the eastern side of the board. It doesn't look like they're gonna try to play on that left side of the table. Maybe we'll just try to scoot our ATST over there. Now, the red player has positioned all of them to be quite far away from the ATST to maybe try to minimize it, and using all of these buildings as line of sight blockers. It'll be interesting to see if how it's going to pay out. I could definitely see, though, coming around this right side here with the ATST, and if you can position it around here, you'll probably get some pretty good fire lines to where you can see at least 2 or 3 of the moisture evaporators at a time. Is where I would try to park that thing, because I think from this avenue, if you slide it in here, you're going to have a really limited cone of fire, where you can just kind of fire this way and this way, if you try not to just leave it in your deployment zone. I can't see their command hands for command cards, but I imagine there's nothing tricksy. I'm assuming Veers has got all 3 of his special cards, and ambush, push, and assault, and then I imagine that we've got the 6 unique command cards over here from SuperNerd, with, of course, both players having standing orders. So it looks like setup is complete. Looks like we're going to move on into deployment. Man, this board is absolutely crowded. I'm really anxious to see if we did manage to box this ATST out. It's going to be hard to do, and I doubt it. But if you can at least try to minimize what it can do to you, because I imagine it can shred apart the opponent's Veers or their Vader, and then use that mortar launcher just to suppress down any enemy troopers. I do like the addition of the mortar launcher here. You technically only need to bring 1 extra upgrade on the ATST, but I like the flexibility that that you can cover yourself at every range, so you can always arsenal at range, put yourself at range 4 or closer, and you've always got options. So looks like we've got our first snowtrooper brigade coming down. Models looking fantastic in the TTS mod. I like how all of them seem to have a couple different styles of guns, from pistols to the E11s to whatever this guy's got that's a little bit bigger. Give it a little flair. The one thing that I'm sad we don't get to see is we don't get to see good guy Vader, because in the TTS mod, I always find it funny. I tend to play red as Rebels a lot, where the color of a model's lightsaber is the equivalent of whatever side you're playing. So we don't get blue lightsaber Vader this match. Looks like we're measuring the distance for some moisture evaporators. As Red deploys their second group of squads. Yeah, everybody's going to be loading down this side of the board. Trying to get to these close quarters. Let's look at what the deployment range on these things is. One of each deployment zone and 2 of each other. Yeah, it looks like they are all just within 2 of this no man's land of a board, which I really, maybe I'm wrong, but I do think it will work in our red players' favor, this setup. Although blue is going to have a great little spot to sit down behind here, behind this cover, fixing the moisture evaporator and really having a great line of sight onto this one that's kind of out and exposed. I think that one will be pretty easy to hold and hard to flush them out of. While I think the other 3 are pretty more exposed, I think this one right here in the center is going to be a hotbed. I think the game will probably hinge on this vaporator. Maybe I'm wrong, but with it being really exposed, it's going to be tough, because I think it's easy to say that Red's going to get this one here. And be able to hold it and contest, with maybe only dedicating maybe 1 squad of troopers. But these 2 are going to be really tight. But I really think it's going to come down to this one, because blue is going to have to really load the box to try to really pin this one down with lines of fire, because this cliff and this building here are going to be obscene line of sight blockers. So I really think this one being out in the open, where it's going to be kind of just utter chaos. And I think if Vader can get down here for our red player and get a really nice Master of Evil off, especially with Veer, since he doesn't have that unlimited bravery, could really wreck some nerds. It'll be interesting to see. From list building standpoint, I do think SuperNerd has a bit of an edge, but both players, honestly, really committed pretty heavily to some anti-vehicle tech. And I think that's gonna tip the balance into SuperNerd's favor, since he does get to use it against an ATST. Although I don't necessarily think he has to. I think my policy with ATSTs is do your best to just ignore it and win the rest of the fight other places. Yeah, I'm anxious to see how this will turn out. Now, BattleBear is not out by any chance. Like, I don't think it's an auto loss due to his list. I think if he can get in close, and the fact that all of his guys have some form of grenade, and they can really start to upgrade their range 1 black die to from the white die, I think he can really leverage that to his advantage. Plus, that ATST can be clutch. I think SuperNerd's going to have to either decide really early that he's going to commit Vader and maybe a group his snowtroopers to go murder it, the ATST, or he just needs to leave it alone and ignore it and let it do its ATS things, let it shoot 6 times, and just try to come out the other side by having Vader, who's probably a few points more expensive, but they fill kind of that role as the big battle unit. While everything else kind of runs around and grabs objectives, which I really do like. This going back to the setup, I do really like this objective for both players having a Veers. Veers is really great at running in and just sitting in a moisture evaporator and then like handing out aim tokens and fixing / sabotaging. I think he's quite good at that. So I think both players have an even advantage there. That being said, I do like the place where I would put Veers's or blue player's Veers a little bit better, because you can put it here, and I think his range 1 is going to reach more of a hot zone for passing out those aim tokens and being inspiring. But it'll be interesting. I think this will come down to a duel of leaders, and can BattleBear deal with Darth Vader and deal with his lack of a Darth Vader. It'll be interesting to see because this ATST's kind of been neutered for the first turn due to our limited visibility condition. And the way that he's kind of been placing out his troopers, I thought he might try to get his ATST in this front corner just to run it forward, so to try to get a range 2-shot. Because this ATST is no slouch in melee either, with 4 red dice. Going in, and you can use Arsenal on your melee attack. Since vehicles don't get engaged, going and throwing those 4 red dice, and then throwing the massive die pool of red, white, black, onto another target could be pretty brutal. So we've got Veers coming out, interestingly, on a flank. It looks like he's going to be leading probably these last 2 groups of snowtroopers, kind of tipping his hand a little bit. It would be really cool to see if he's going to try to slip through here around this cliff and put some pressure on this Vaporator that's pretty safe for blue. I kind of like this play. It's a little risky, but we'll see. We'll see for the dodgeball pun. We'll see if it pays off. Veers not going down yet, but creating a nice front line of stormtroopers over here on the blue side, while we're really going to looks like take a 2-man or a 2-front deployment from red here, which makes sense because he's got the double commander setup. And this crater here is going to be just a huge hamstring for our players today. If any of the models or any part of the model are on these craters, it becomes difficult terrain. And this is just going to be in a nightmare of a situation. That being said, we do have the stormtroopers over here with environmental gear, letting them ignore difficult terrain. So they'll be able to pole vault over this barricade. They are not impeded by these craters. So I'm really liking SuperNerd's position in deployment. But the dice and the cards and the decisions still have a lot to play. Obviously, we haven't even started yet. But I would give the early advantage to red, just from deployment and objective selection. So we've got our ATST. He is going to go for that hole here, which I think does get him the most he can see. And with how tall the ATST is, I think he can see over most of these buildings, and especially if he can get kind of close to them to get a good line of fire over. Because that is a powerful piece that SuperNerd's going to have to respect. Where does Veers go? Is he going to sit in this corner, or is he going to babysit his ATST? I'm anxious to see with his loadout and then the long-range comm what his actual plan is. It looks like he's going to be focused on giving aim tokens to stormtroopers. He's double loading the box. This is interesting. He's got both commanders side by side over here. This is scary. This is not how I thought this was going to go down. I'm anxious to see it because he's got a leadershipless flank over here that if some good suppression goes and this board edge is really close, if somebody has to flee, it'll be super interesting. So their players get ready with their first set of command cards. I haven't gotten to play with it yet, but looks like the mod's been updated a bit with a token shuffler. Usually I'd do that the old-fashioned way in TTS, so if you've played any other games of flipping stuff and shuffling it yourself, but it looks like we've got a nice little interface to do it for us now. Both cards have been selected. And we will flip them over. we've got a push and we've got a standing orders. Standing orders from BattleBear makes a lot of sense. He doesn't have 6 unique cards. I think push is interesting coming from red because he does potentially have 6 unique cards. Although I do think one of Veers's cards is not in the mod, so that makes sense if that is the push. And for his push, he orders both of his commanders. Makes sense because that means everything else is a trooper, and the shuffle doesn't matter. Standing orders goes to Veers, so we don't know when this ATST is going to activate, which isn't a huge deal because ATST is not going to do a whole lot this first turn in any case due to that limited visibility. And it looks like red will take the first turn. Do we go to the random pile of troopers that's not very random? Or is he gonna try to get a commander out there first? Maybe using Veers to just hand out a handful of aim tokens onto those snowies to try to get him into range. Although we do have to keep in mind limited visibility, so we probably won't see a lot of shooting this round. Although we do have to get Darth Waddles up into position to really wreck some nerds. We are going to go troopers. He's gonna start moving on this back front where he's pretty safe of not getting in range of limited visibility because this trooper squad here is just going to come and park and hang out. Looks like our order tokens have been redesigned a little bit. It's pretty exciting stuff. If you've not gotten a chance to check out this mod, there's a great Discord server. You can find probably the easiest link to it is on the Star Wars Legion subreddit. It's pretty rad. It plays really well as you'll see throughout the match today on how clean it plays and how quick it plays. Looks like we're going to get a double move here just to where we can get into base-to-base contact with that moisture evaporator so we can start repairing / sabotaging it. I don't think I know which of them is going to be fixing and repairing. Let's take a look at that while he finagles his movement. Some of those bases like to topple down a little bit. So at the end of the game, the red player gains victory points for each token with fewer than 2. So red is fixing, removing tokens. Blue will be adding tokens. There can be no more than 4 tokens on a moisture evaporator, basically giving them each a 2-point swing. Get the ATST right out of the gate. I think that's very fortunate because you want to try to let your opponent, when you have a unit that's not going to be doing a whole lot, you want to get your unit that's not doing much out early so it can just kind of sit there and it gives you more information on how your opponent wants to play the turn. The only issue that I could see here is if he's going to end up displacing potentially some of his own guys. But even so, that's not a huge deal because Veers can just inspire it away. But he decides instead not to move his ATST, just to take a standby token, which vehicles can't do, but it's not going to matter this game. As he just wants to hang it out, wait for those conditions to clear, and wait for the skies to clear, the sandstorm that's clearly going on. And we'll see where these guys go. All right, so we get another group of troopers off the stack. Looks like red is going to continue to push his advantage on this side, taking his claim to these 2 objectives. So once again, these barricades don't slow him down due to his environmental gear. He can just pole vault straight on over them. I don't think he's going to quite be able to get there in 2 move actions. It'll be maybe he can. It'll be close. Yeah, he should be able to get there. Now that I get the bird's eye view. Yeah, it absolutely has range. I'll be anxious to see. Cohesion matters here, because if he can get over half of his troops into that crater, once again, it won't slow him down due to his environmental gear. But his unit leader needs to be on the Vaporator so he can, or Vaporator, excuse me, so he can start fixing it. But it looks like he's just going to leave himself out in the open, ignoring cover. Objective tokens do not provide cover. Their objective tokens, and rightfully so for gameplay purposes in Star Wars Legion, have like no properties. And they cannot be. You cannot put bases on top of them of even vehicles. Like they are holy relics that you cannot touch in any way, shape, or form. So over on the other side of the table, we're gonna activate some trooper dudes, some slow troopers. And they're going to start making a concerted push for this, looks like this middle Vaporator. Snowtroopers, I think, are a really good option for taking this Vaporator, because they can double move and shoot. Since it is the one that's a little bit further away. Should be no shooting this round. But you never quite know. Yeah, most Legion games are played on a 6x3, which theoretically this board is, but I'm going to guess that this ATST is just going to chill here, and the rest of this third of the board we can just go ahead and cut off, except for the little island that the ATST is going to sit on. It is going to be a very heavy concentrated game over here, which I think is going to make Vader incredibly useful, because if he can get into a point of the fight where his range 3 bubble is covering all the Vaporators, I think it's going to be a very huge advantage for our red player, SuperNerd, playing Darth Vader. Stormtroopers moving up to contest this Vaporator. Now that the Snowtroopers have already activated and can't move, shoot into them. Nice patient play there. Both of these players, I didn't look at their respective groups. If I get some time, I might go look at that here in a second to see how they did within the group stages. But obviously, both of them have quite a bit of skill to be able to manage to get out of the group. Of most of the groups, I think, were 5 people. I think there were a few that were a little less, and pretty much having to go 2-2 with a really great tiebreaker score, or 3-1 to get out of the group. I know in the group that I played in, the 2 players that managed to pull 3-1 did manage to get out. With our top seed only losing to me, and then our second place finisher only losing to the top seed. So it was actually a really tight, close, contested group. It was a lot of fun, and I don't feel bad by any means on missing out on it, because there were some all 4 of my games were incredibly tough, and they were a lot of fun. Cannot wait for next season. I don't know when the plans are for that, but if this goes well, this tournament goes well, and not everybody's super sour at the end of it, I think there are quite a few plans to continue to do this. Because yeah, it was super well organized, a lot of fun. The fact that you just didn't play 1 or 2 games and get out, but you had a group stage to a single elimination bracket, I think is a really fun format. Limited visibility as a condition is always really interesting to me, because it speeds that game up and really makes it like a almost a 5.5 turn game where we get this mini turn of just like everybody run around and get in the position that you want to try to force your opponent to fight in. I'll be very anxious to see what's going to happen once sabers start swinging and ATST cannons start firing off. It looks like we've got our blue player here starting to dye his troopers, so we can tell who belongs to what group. A nice little touch. No, it's not quite as aesthetically pleasing, but it makes sense for function over form. It's also tedious as all get out in TTS, but it's the price we pay for a faster game. So this is interesting. I like this play. I like this play a lot from our red player. Usually, what I see a lot of people do is they hang out at the Vaporators. And they just kind of commit one squad to each group or to each Vaporator, and that squad's job is to like take a pot shot or take a dodge token, and shoot. But he doesn't want to waste any time here. He wants to try to put two squad leaders on the same Vaporator, and just in a single turn get that thing to maximum points so he's no longer married to it and he doesn't have to commit more resources. Since this one is the furthest back and probably the closest to his deployment zone. With the exception of this one, because this squad's now going to be tied up for the next 2 turns fixing that Vaporator / destroying it. So we got a first group of stormtroopers coming out from BattleBear. See where he decides to point them with that second move. If he's going to try to curl up around this angle, around which it looks like he's going to try to take the crater. All right. Get a little bit of cover from the crater. I like it. He's going to move right up to it. So he tries to get his guys into cohesion here. A quick note for those of you that might not be as familiar with Star Wars Legion. What should happen with this squad here is he should move just into base-to-base contact with the crater, and since it's difficult terrain, and it looks like the players are realizing that and fixing it, which is good on them. Yeah, sometimes you get in the heat of the moment. He's going to move up right into base-to-base contact, and it should still give him the defensive cover that he's looking for, so he doesn't miss out. So he spends his first move to go into base-to-base contact with it, and then if he wants to spend his second move to do a speed 1 into it, he can totally do that. That's looks like we're measuring for a potential saber throw here. Darth Vader is so good, unlimited visibility. It keeps him safe for a turn from any big siege weapons that your opponent might bring, and then any attack and any damage that he wants to try to put out is completely negated by. I think if you've got a pretty Vader-centric list, limited visibility should be something you're always kind of hunting for. It does take away a little bit of the utility of your DLTs being able to shoot out to range 4, but you know it's the price we pay. It looks like we've got Veers now handing out some aim tokens. Don't know that they're going to be a ton of help with limited visibility on this first turn, but Veers doing Veers things as you expect. It's never a bad play. I like this. Veers is going to go in total concealment over here. What I would love to see Veers do next turn is to try to climb this hill and hang out up here. He will risk some potential damage, But if he can get up there into heavy cover, it'll give his aim token bubble a pretty wide range to support from the top there, and it'll give him in a prime position for his Inspire ability, which I think will be a pretty big deal once this ATST really starts to pop off. Looks like he's just finagling his movement tempo a little bit to get Veers in that perfect spot. I would love to see Veers climb up here. We have yet to see BattleBear's Veers do anything, but once again, I don't think that's necessarily a huge deal with limited visibility on this first turn. I think Veers should probably just, double move, try to get where he wants to be inspiring and hand out aim tokens and nestle in for the next bloody 4 turns, 5 turns. Because after this turn, the only thing that's still going to be hampered is that ATST and those DLTs, which may come back. We'll see to bite BattleBear, not moving his ATST forward to try to close the distance to range 3. But it's still a powerful artillery piece, even if it just gets to shoot 4 times once the conditions have cleared up from limited visibility. I think it can still be worth its weight in gold, especially with that mortar launcher. With the caveat being you have to bring Vader down. That mortar launcher doesn't do anything if Vader's unlimited bravery bubble is up and operational. It still limits action economy, obviously, but really you want to bring that mortar launcher not just to limit actions, but to cause nerds to flee in terror. Got some Stormies here moving on up. Should be able to get in base-to-base contact with the Moisture Vaporator. The interesting thing to me is he cannot get into base to base. But what I would like to see him do is pull that guy down a little further to get in base to base with the cover, so he gets the defensive benefits without having to give those same benefits himself. It's probably not a huge deal because there's plenty of cover over here, but you need to get any offensive advantage you can against this exposed group before they clamber away. A neat trick BattleBear could try to pull here next turn is try to line up some troopers to where they can only see this group here, and fire at the Red Stormtrooper squad here, only picking off the leader, being the only available model to kill, and that would basically make him have to waste an action to re-engage the Vaporator if he can't see the rest of the squad. I don't know if it's super optimized, but it's a neat trick you can pull if you have to. So, slow first turn as they marshal their forces into position here. Looks like we've got the 2 groups of snowtroopers still left to go, and Vader for red. And then we've got 2 groups of stormtroopers and Veers. Yeah, these lists actually, like in all seriousness, are kind of to me funny little parodies of each other, where we're basically asking the question, what's better, ATST or Vader? I tend to like Vader. I think he brings a little bit more utility with his command cards and a more upfront presence that can really challenge objectives. But both of them bringing lots of anti-vehicle tech and the same number of squads. I believe they both have 4 stormtroopers and 2 snowtroopers. both bringing 8 activations, both bringing Veers, albeit they are kitted very differently. And we'll see how this goes as the physics on this poor little snowtrooper kind of goes everywhere as they try to find a way to plant him down. So we watch him do the shuffle. There we go. That's all right. They're snowtroopers. They're not used to this desert terrain. Excuse me. I'm kind of surprised the players did not elect to play on the snow map. I'll have to talk to them about that after the game. It's a little disappointing with all the snowtroopers. You know, these guys in their parkas and their gloves and their hoodies, and then they're having to go fight moisture evaporators in the desert. Granted, tundra and desert are relatively similar biomes, so maybe they're not that different for what you would need gear-wise. Yeah, this little group over here is either going to be I think they're going to be heroes, just completely getting this Vaporator uncontested, uncontrolled. As this center is going to be a bloodbath. I cannot wait to see. What direction Vader's going to go. Is he going to cut up the middle and kind of follow his buddy Veers in, or is he going to one-man army through this valley here and come and try to Master of Evil and force all these squads out of position? I can't wait to see which way he's going to try to commit him. And he's very correctly and smartly not delaying that action as long as he can. I imagine Vader will be SuperNerd's last reaction. And these deployments and this setup for this objective is so aggressive. I really like it. The way that I like to play my Rebel army, I cannot say that I would have done it the same way. But I think for what both of these players, since their lists kind of want to do the same thing in very different ways, I think it works to their strengths. They both have a bunch of grenades. They're wanting to close things in with the range support of the ATST and the brutality of Vader. I think it's really clever on how. And that's one of the things that makes this game so neat is how you can, different armies, different lists, and even the different factions definitely want to play this game very differently. If I have my Rebel army on this list or on this mat, we've got some Vaporators over here on the corners, and we're really going to stretch those Imperial leadership bubbles as thin as we can. Trying to use our cheaper units. I tend to favor more units, less upgrades. Running a 9 or 10 activation list. I've even run one list that had 11, and that was a lot of fun. To really try to pull your enemy apart, knowing that they can't be everywhere that you can. Yeah, I feel like these 8 activation lists are actually very conservative. 8 has been about the minimum that I've been seeing. I don't think I've seen many 7s. I've been favoring a 9 activation list a lot lately, with 6 groups of troopers, double rebel commanders, and 1 ATRT. For Tabletop Simulator, where of course we have Leia. I've got to play one army that had Luke, 6 groups of rebel troopers that had no upgrades on them except the extra 10-point body, and then 3 ATRTs. And it was so many activations that I just got to swarm out my opponent by not having to worry about playing too defensively, because I had so many models that he couldn't kill me fast enough. Even though his units were better, I could just throw myself at my bodies at objectives, and it eventually did get me a win. But I think that's definitely a rebel playstyle, which definitely there are no rebels on this table. Lots and lots of out of place snowtroopers in desert and guys, and God, Vader's got to be oppressively hot. Like, I don't blame him for like hating this place lore wise. Like, he's all in this black leather armor. Ventilation can't be great. He just wants to like go home and take a cool bath or whatever. Moving some stormtroopers up here. One thing to be mindful of when you guys go out and play your own games, one thing I would have really liked to seen is put these troopers with cohesion would have been wide enough just behind this barricade. 99% sure not going to make a difference with the visibility the way it is. But it's always good to get in like these best practices habits of always just thinking to put your guys behind cover. Looks like we get some more color coding of troopers going on through the first turn as Darth Waddles is going to come up and really try to pressure this point. Provided his base fits in there, which it totally does. This is a guy you don't want to meet in a dark alley. Like, you know, him getting backed up by a snowtrooper squad with an aim token. As we start to measure some stuff here, is something you don't want to see on a 2 o'clock in the morning on the wrong side of town. It's Tatooine, so I don't think there is a right side of town. See, as SuperNerd here just finds the perfect place for his Vader. So he's overlapping just a touch, but once again, I don't think this first turn it's going to matter too much as things really start to go up from here into turn number 2. Because I believe everyone at this point has activated. Measuring range to the ATST to make sure that he's kind of safe. He's just, he's got one more turn where he's got to stay out of range 3, keeping it at range 4. And then I think you just play Ring Around the Rosie and try to hide from its line of sight by sticking close to buildings. Or you ignore it and just say, "Come at me, bro," which Vader's pretty good at doing. And Vader, I think it'll be tough. Once again, he might not have to worry about it this turn, but next turn, he can also be completely immune to damage from the ATST. If he just stays engaged, does Vader things and moves and attacks and claws his way, which I've actually seen a couple Vaders do rather intelligently. Is when they're engaged with a model and there's like just 1 or 2 dudes left in the group, you just forfeit that free attack after moving, because it's basically it just keeps them safe. Players are cracking a couple jokes about how round 1 was super exciting and how it took forever. All right, we move to turn number 2, and yeah, all right, we have reclaimed all the tokens, all the suppression that didn't happen comes off the board, and we go back into the command phase. Apparently, there is a roadmap on the Invader League website for what Season 2 is going to look like. Super excited for that. Cannot wait. Since I last checked Checked my Twitch app. It looks like we got a few more viewers, so welcome, guys. I know I don't expect to get a lot of traction today because I believe here shortly, if not already, FFG themselves are doing a live stream of unboxing the X-Wing 2nd edition upgrade packs. I'm pretty excited for that. I'll be checking out the highlights on that as I am a, you know, if FFG puts it out and puts a Star Wars label on it, I kind of have to buy it. Except for Imperial models. I don't buy those. Those are the devil. Tough decisions on cards here. BattleBear's got his card locked in and ready. SuperNerd's taking a moment to look at his options because he once again does have the extra couple unique cards that he has to consider on when the timing window is going to work on them and when he wants to play them. A little bit more to consider than in a double commander list than single. Looks like registration for Season 2 of the Invader League is going to be just after Gen Con. All right. Looks like we've got some new ways to motivate them versus push. So the players will have to have a roll-off. We're actually going to get to throw dice. New ways to motivate them. I actually really like this card right here. Because if he can order these couple groups of stormtroopers here, and he can use their slower movement speed and the limited visibility to really get in range where he needs to be. You guys, if you want to yell at one of my co-hosts, Ben, he is currently in the chat and not doing work, which is what I think he's supposed to be doing. So quit being lazy, Ben. Do your job. I worked all the extra hours last night so I could be here to cast this game. Looks like Red won the roll-off and will be going first. And ordering his two commanders. I think that's pretty smart. That way he's got nothing but troopers in the bag. Now, new ways to motivate them is interesting because you have to be ordering to he's basically going to be putting wounds on General Veers to have him do extra actions instead of these snow troopers like I thought he was. And Vader obviously can't do it to himself, but it's got to be somebody with a face-up order token. So it could be relatively interesting if Veers tries to takes that wound to get a third action and then climbs up here, and maybe if he clambers real quickly, tries to fall down. That could be 2 wounds onto Veers relatively early without shots fired. Yeah, to those of you that are just joining us, watching the guys set up this board, our Twitch chat's talking a little bit about how board setup works in the bracket play as opposed to the round robin stages. This board, I as a Rebel player would never play, but it works really, really well for these Imperials on how we're pretty much just cutting off this third of the board and not really worrying about it, and how all 4 of our moisture evaporators are all kind of clustered in this little corner of death. Where Vader, I think, is gonna tear some people apart, but he's opted not to do that and come around the other side. It's going to be really, really interesting. I love watching all the different ways that you can explore the mechanics in this game and not just have to. There's a set standard way to play. I like the fact that I would approach this differently. It's really, really neat. Looks like we might actually get some shots fired. Oh no. They're pulling up rangefinders. It's Looks like we've got some impact grenades for some stormtroopers coming. But they are going to be impact grenades and not concussion grenades. So he still will get the cover bonus. But it does upgrade his die from the dreaded awful white die to the black die. So it could be quite a bit of damage here. 3 crits, 1 hit, and a surge, which flips to a hit. Those are fantastic dice. The cover should take away 2 hits. I'm going to assume that, yeah, half the models are behind that cover, leaving 3. See what the survey says on the blocks. Not so great of dice. 2 models going down and a suppression token. Suppression, I think, is going to be really important in this matchup, especially because he hasn't had a chance to fix this Vaporator yet. So that means if he misses his rally roll, he's going to have to decide: do I want to pressure this objective and try to get a victory point off of it, or do I return fire? So I like this move of getting up and pressuring this group early, as opposed to just taking a safer, more standard approach. Got some pre-measuring going on, seeing what Veers can do with his little pew-pew gun for a potential later turn. It looks like we're going to immediately react with this same group. See if they're going to rally or not. Dice goes up. Dice lags because it's Tabletop Simulator. And he does not, so he only gets a single action. Is he going to shoot, or is he... So our players are having a little chat about the rally action. Let's see what he's going to do. Is he going to shoot, or is he going to play the objective? Most Imperial players I've come across do the shooting bit. They value the shooting bit. He does have a free objective here in the corner that he can worry. He doesn't really have to worry about dealing with. And he, I think, has done a better job of pressuring the quote-unquote safe blue objective. So I'll be anxious to see how he's gonna choose to treat this. So he pulls up the rangefinder, and he's gonna shoot a blue squad, which I like, trying to put suppression on it to maybe keep it out from doing what it wants to do, because snowtroopers don't do that great with suppression on them. What I would actually really like to see him do is take that DLT into Veers, and then just the 3 white dice into the snowtroopers. But he wants to commit and get some damage in early, which I can understand. Rolls only 2 hits on his DLT dice. All the whites, as you expect, will come up blank. 2 blocks are rolled, but a suppression token still should come down, as it does. But no damage is taken, but at least we're going to slow those snowies down. But not taking any wounds off of that objective quite yet. Hope everybody's having a good day today. If anybody wants to throw some highlights from the FFG stream into the chat so I could see them, that'd be awesome. Looks like we've got an ATST coming out, and he is opting to move it this time. It looks like last turn he just didn't want to move it because of risk of suppressing his own guys. but he is going to try to start moving it forward. I don't know if he'll be able to get within range of anything with limited visibility. Yep, and he's just going to come like the nice little window that I kind of saw pointed out at the beginning of the match. He's just going to move into and get ready to unload on next turn. He's going to have a great line of fire on the attack path of Vader, as well as covering 2 of the moisture evaporators. And it looks like maybe with a pivot or one more move action, he can get the 3rd one in line of sight if he needs to. It'll be anxious to see if next turn how safe Vader can be from this ATST, or if he's just going to grab a dodge token and say, "Come at me, bro," and pray to reflect back on it. SuperNerd here, contemplating what unit he wants to activate. It looks like his mouse is hovering over Vader, and he does go Vader. This is relatively early, I think, in the round for Vader, but he's a guy with a plan, and I like it. I sense a probably a double move Force Reflexes Saber Throw Choke coming. It's gonna be pretty brutal. He might not be able to get range for the choke, as I believe it is just range 1, but it will be kind of close. Yeah, it is. It is just range 1. As Darth Waddles here starts moving on forward. He's so slow. He's kind of getting the mini's kind of getting caught up on this cliff edge here, as it tends to do in TTS. God, once this engagement gets underway, playing on essentially a probably a close to it's a little bit more than a 3x3, but it's this board for all intents and purposes can be made a 3x4 probably, and fit all the models and all the objectives on. It's getting pretty grisly pretty quick. Here comes Vader with the double move as expected. He's not cutting that corner around that cliff. He's trying to get as close to as he can to that little building, which I'm pretty sure that that Vader can see. I think that ATST can still see him. Once again, I'm not allowed to interfere with their game at all or say. For my game, I still think he can get a beat on him. But if he can manage to activate his Vader early next round before the ATST can move, he can clearly hide it. So Vader takes that double move. I imagine we're going to get a rangefinder to come up, as the players are experimenting with some of the new features on the token dials that'll snap your unit leaders where they need to go. Measuring range for a force choke here onto that DLT. He really wants him. Puts him a little more exposed to the ATST, but once again, I think he's pretty. He was pretty exposed. Anywho. As he finds just the right spot to drop his Vader. These tight chokes and corridors that the players have built into the map are are super interesting, I think. Makes the movement and finding range and the right way to cut corners a little fiddly, but I think it's going to work very well to both players' advantage. A little more so to SuperNerd because he doesn't have that ATST he's got to worry about, but that ATST is in a pretty great spot as Vader tries to scale a cliff here. Looks like trying to get him as close to that wall as he can and get him to the ground. Oh, is he going to do what I think he's going to do? This is interesting. He's trying to get... I don't think he quite far enough, but I thought he was maybe trying to finagle his Vader as far forward to get hit into range 2 of the ATST to saber throw. So it looks like we do have a force choke onto the DLT in the Natural Squad's DLT, and then he's going to throw his lightsaber at Yellow Brigade here and try to do quite a bit of damage to these stormtroopers early. If he can get 4 models off the board with Vader's activation, I think that'll be a really strong turn. He's obviously gets the guaranteed 1 from Force Choke. Vader dice are never the most reliable. He does manage to get all 3 hits, though. And with Vader's Pierce 3... Looks like we've got a judge in our chat channel now. Things are getting real. A couple questions on how Pierce works. Oh, that's tough. We've got Vader rolling 3, all 3 hits. Stormtroopers taking 3 hits or rolling all 3 blocks. And Pierce going through all of it. Yeah, it's pretty rough. So 3 models gone, plus the 4th DLT. That is a perfect turn for Vader. Players are figuring out which squad is going where and who's coming off the board. And then we'll see which model comes off. I imagine it's going to be the DLT Trooper for the choke. Man, Vader getting to use his potentially his full suite of force powers, all 3 of them in this really first meaningful activation. Turn 1 is the positioning round with limited visibility. It's pretty effective use of points. Oh wow! So the position he actually managed to put Vader in. Obscured one of the Yellow Squad stormtroopers, and since he doesn't have the extra reinforcement on there, he's actually getting 2 DLTs off the board this turn. Very strong turn from SuperNerd. Very strong turn. And then takes the Force Reflex and... Once we get these bodies off the floor here, as we get the street sweeper in to push all the stormtroopers away. SuperNerd talking about how that was a pretty sick round of combat for him, and it definitely was. Now we'll see if he gets punished by putting Vader out there. Vader does have a dodge token, but he only has the one. He didn't double dodge. He didn't get the chance to double dodge Vader. He wouldn't have been in range. And we'll see if he can get maybe punished for it. Most of the DLTs are gone on that side of the board, so it is unlikely. But it looks like BattleBear now is out activating Veers now that things are getting heated up. We'll go ahead and probably pass out some aim tokens as Veers gets ready to take a move action. One thing he probably should have done here is triggered Veers' Inspire ability to clear that suppression token off the blue snowtroopers, because it happens immediately after the rally step. But Veers is new, Inspiring's weird, not a lot of people think about it, so it isn't very, very easy trigger to miss, especially when Veers doesn't have any suppression of his own. And I know this because I forget it with Leia all the time. All the time. I probably forget to remove more suppression than I actually remove. Because, I'm bad at this game. But Veers takes a move. He moves out. He hands out 2 aim tokens to a stormtrooper and a snowtrooper squad, respectively, getting them ready for the fight. And he's actually, I like the spot he's got his Veers in. He can easily take a move and get to really within range of any of his stormtrooper squads to give the aim tokens where he needs them. Looks like we've got SuperNerd doing some measuring, see who he wants to activate. If he wants to activate, looks like we are going to go troopers, and he's going to get his more exposed group on this central vaporator. Either try to get them into cover or take some pot shots. Goes ahead and repairs the vaporator, tipping the balance 1 point into Red's favor from the neutral state. I do like how this game is, this particular objective is a tug of war, as opposed to both players actively trying to score points. It is a zero-sum game with a neutral resting point, and it's really 4 tiny zero-sum games. But we've now got 1 point on the board for SuperNerd. It's still relatively early. And I think BattleBear is playing a little bit riskier of a strategy, but I kind of like it. If he can the way he's deployed his troops, if he can smash through and break the battle line, and probably is going to require him to kill Vader, he's got 3 Vaporators that he can just own. One of them is pretty well out of reach. But he's got to be able to push in to that center, probably get Vader down to where his suppression matters, and all do that with enough actions still remaining to enough actions still around to claim the objectives. So he fixes and he takes a shot, scoring 5 hits on an exposed group of troopers, and BattleBear, man, his defense dice just aren't coming through. They're rolling consistently 1 face below average, only generating 2 blocks off of the 5 dice. Looks like there's a little confusion here. They're talking about cover options. Doing some basic measuring. Man, I wish all of our games had had judges in it. This is awesome. So 3 models coming off the board for another solid turn of getting an objective point and 3 more models. This is one of the most bloody Imperial versus Imperial games I have seen. Lots of casualties in the early turns. Those red dice just not quite coming up. So we got nothing but troopers left for BattleBear. So just see which order he wishes to activate them in. Looks like he set his token down near his blue snowtroopers that have a suppression on them. He rolls to clear it. And he does. So he will get his full suite of actions. So 2 actions for these snowies. I imagine we're going to see a double move and shoot and really try to pressure that objective. With their steady ability, being able to shoot after the second row. He is trying to shoot at a group that is very well entrenched in heavy cover. So he's doing a little pre-measuring here before he commits to his final position. Yeah, I think getting a second suppression on this Stormtrooper squad on the objective is really important because I don't see he's got one other chance to do it, but with that group now being suppressed, that could have that chance. You really need to start stacking up the suppression so they can't interact with the objective and shoot. He's really got to keep them pinned down to. Looks like we've got he accidentally grabbed and picked up Veers when trying to move his unit into cohesion, and Veers wanted to tag along. They are placing him back now. Funny little things that happen in TTS that don't happen on an actual table. Veers just coming along for the ride, man. Snowy's got really only one targeting option. I don't think they can see much of anybody else. So the pink outline squad and entrenched in heavy cover, trying to grab that objective. I think it's super important, like I said, to pin them down, to slow down their action economy, to since they are already in base-to-base contact with the Vaporator. So we've got the ion gun coming out. Since there's no vehicles, might as well shoot it now. But it adds, man, that's a wicked that it adds 3 dice for 34 points. It's pretty good for a total dice pool of, looks like 6 white dice and a black die, with an aim token that I believe the Snowies still surge to hit. Let's see what the dice say. Guys are entrenched in heavy cover. Double checking some quick dice math. And roll them up. Thank God for surges on offense for snowtroopers with 1 critical and 4 surges. And luckily only 2 blank dice, since the snowtroopers don't have that precise keyword that Stormies do. They do come up into blanks. So that is a grand total of 5 through. That the heavy cover takes care of 2 of them, leaving 3 hits remaining. Defense dice are up in the air and bouncing all over the place with lag, and he gets 2 blocks. Man, the dice have not been on BattleBear's side. They've been pretty cruel to him with only 1 trooper going down, which always feels a little bad after you roll 5 hits. But a suppression token comes out, which I arguably think against this squad that's already acted this round is more important. But that suppression, super important. All right, back over to the red side with SuperNerd. Vader's already gone. He's in a bit of a weird spot, but I think he's in a very good spot. He was able to do some very critical damage to some of the heavy weapons. I'm anxious to see what his plan is with his Veers, just hanging out on the far side of this hill, with new ways to motivate them. Did he just play new ways to motivate them as a 2-pip card to try to go first without having to burn one of his 1-pips, or does he actually have a plan to damage Veers for that 3rd action? Judging by the way his mouse is hovering, though, it's not quite Veers time yet. He's still got, looks like 1 more activation, 2 more activations before he really has to commit to Veers, because I imagine Veers wants to give those aim tokens to those snowtroopers before they move. Looks like we've got this group moving away from the moisture vaporator that they originally moved. I thought he was going to try to double tag down to get 2 points, but now he's just running back to reinforce the other side of the skirmish. Kind of like I was talking about earlier, really trying to pull your enemy apart, using that environmental gear to great effect, ignoring the difficult terrain. I cannot wait for us to get a bunch of copies of that card in some form of expansion. I've not been super pumped about any of the gear or grenade slots for Rebel Troopers. I don't think they just quite fit with the way that I like to play. Or the Rebel Troopers already having the black die at range 1 to 3. But environmental gear, I think, is totally worth its points, letting you really take the full battlefield. Yeah. Yeah, I'm being asked for rules, and I will stay silent. Yeah. So, some more rules clarifications coming in, which is always nice. Both these players being real friendly about talking about cover and options and what all is going on. Seemed like stand-up individuals. They were not in my group, so I did not get the pleasure of playing with them. Another pretty solid roll of 5 hits coming through. So we'll get 5 defense dice in here. Do the typical TTS lag and see what happens. All 5 blocks come up. The dice have finally swung back in BattleBear's favor for just a measly suppression token. Those snowtroopers all get promoted for standing out in the open and taking no damage. True heroes, each and every one of them. Unsurprising to anybody at all. BattleBear, our blue player, draws a trooper. That's about all he's got left. I'll be very anxious to see which of his 4 squads he decides to activate that he's got left. He's going to go with the relatively wounded yellow squad, which honestly, these wounded squads aren't awful, especially in this objective, because your opponent is less incentivized to shoot at them because their dice pool isn't all that fantastic. They're really great at claiming objectives because you can maybe draw some of your opponent's attention away from your more healthy units by threatening them with objectives, but it looks like he's going to move out, and he's just going to try to attack Vader, which I do also kind of like, trying to use a piddly little 2-die attack to try to strip Vader's dodge token. So he's going to throw a couple concussion grenades at Vader, and he surges for 2 hits. Pretty solid roll. See if he decides to spend his dodge. He's thinking about it. He does spend the dodge for just 1 die. Gets the reflect ability to potentially on 1 die. It comes up blank, which is fantastic for BattleBear, that he burned the dodge token and manages to get a damage onto Vader. The dice, which were cruel to him earlier on in the turn, are now starting to swing back a little bit. All right. SuperNerd's activating his Veers as we kind of expected before he has to move his snowtroopers away from him. I thought he might activate this group on the side first, but he hands out a couple of aim tokens. He chose not to take the damage onto Veers. So there was no real intense plan with playing new ways to motivate them. And it looks like Veers is going to go and try to jump on that objective. Now, this does mean Veers is kind of out in the open, kind of exposed. But I'm not sure in this particular situation Veers is the one you want to be shooting at, since he does have 5 hit points on only a single model. You really want to be trying to pick off things that add dice to dice pools. if you're going to be shooting. And Veers isn't too terribly threatening. So I think he's pretty safe where he chose to put him. All right, looks like we get our choked out Stormtrooper Squadron to activate. Who Vader is in totally range one of, and Vader may be eating some more Granados here. I believe this trooper, yes, all of them have impact grenades. Everybody. If BattleBear manages to move on, I really hope he gets to play a big ATST list to just ruin their day, or heaven forbid an ATRT list. All right, so these guys do not move into base-to-base contact with the Moisture Vaporator. And he's going to take the aim, and he's going to take a shot. SuperNerd remarking that he may have made a mistake with Vader. Vader can take some licks. I think it comes down to the start of next turn, who can get the initiative, and see who, if Vader or this ATST activates first. I think could be pretty crucial. So, all right. Waiting for some dice to get pulled out. Should be 4 black dice with an aim token. Mathematically, that should be 4 hits, but dice are silly sometimes. We get 1 blank in the initial roll. It comes up a hit, so math holds true, and Vader rolls some blocks, maybe. Survey says blank surge. So I think the dice luck has come past the even point at this point and gone back into BattleBear's favor. Meaning Vader, through just 2 Stormtrooper attacks, and across 6 dice, has managed to deal 5 wounds. And the only one that he's managed to block was with that dodge token. This is interesting. That's a lot of dice. It's a lot of blank red dice. But once again, Veers is in a great little spot. But it means that the suppression game could swing way into BattleBear's favor if Vader does go down, and suppression really starts to matter for reasons of panic for our non-ATST player. Doing a little pre-measuring, which is always kind of finicky in TTS, because he can't ever get things quite perfect, but you can get kind of close. Activating this first group of Stormtroopers, looks like he's going to probably leave that pretty safe grab activate, or grab a victory point and take a dodge token for his last activation. Looks like he's going to try to hook around with these snowtroopers and try to pin down the unactivated Stormtrooper squad who currently doesn't have line of sight on Vader. This is a smart play to try to keep Vader safe, because with one more good attack from a fully loaded group of troopers, Vader could easily go down. We'll see if he can manage to get range. Looks like he probably will be able to. If not, a standby token will do the trick, because he can put himself in a position where he can just cover Vader, and if they come around on either side, take a pot shot with standby. But yeah, he'll have full range on the group with a double move, using the steady ability to shoot at this group of troopers who's probably out in the open. I don't think any... Yep. Five white dice. Once again, the snowtroopers for SuperNerd do not have any of the heavy weapon upgrades. Rolls initially 3 hits with 2 crits and a hit, with 2 blank dice out of the 5, which is perfect for that little aim token. Dice go back up in the air, and one of them comes back down. So that's about what you can expect with the white attack dice. So 4 hits coming through. And we roll 4 red attack dice instead of defense dice. I do that all the time. That was a good roll too. That's kind of sad. And comes up with 3 blocks. Pretty strong showing. Pretty strong showing. All right, back to the other side of the board for BattleBear here. I imagine he's going to activate the group that probably just got shot. I think it's the most pressing activation that he can still take of his 2. Because he's got his orange squad or his red squad, and it looks like he is going to activate orange. That was just recently suppressed. It'll be absolutely huge if he can clear this suppression, and he does. So that means he can hook these guys around and light up Vader. Conversely, he could aim and shoot at the stormtroopers that just shot him. But they are in light cover. I think the play here is to try to pin Vader down, especially because you can only get 1 suppression on these guys. So it'll just go away at the end of the turn. They've already activated. And he is going to take that. He's going to move up a different direction. Where he might be able to see Vader. Interesting stuff. I like what he's thinking. I like how he's trying to not just funnel all of his guys into the death cone that Darth Vader creates. And he's trying to find some different attack paths. But he does move into range 1, so it looks like he's going to pressure these snowtroopers, opting for closing the gap to range 1 over the aim token. I have not broken down that dice math, whether 4 black dice without a reroll is better than 4 white dice on a stormtrooper with a reroll, or with 2 rerolls. So he does have a DLT in that group, so it will be 5 dice in light cover. The impact grenades, see what the dice say. So we load up the dice into the dice tray. This is the other finicky part of TTS, is getting all the dice where you need them. It's a pretty handy little console, but nothing quite like the tabletop of just being able to grab a handful of stuff. And not a great roll with only 2 hits. Light cover is going to take care of one of them. Well, looks like they're just going to add the suppression and roll the 2 dice. Mathematically, I think that's fine. Because the defense was 1 block, 1 surge, so 1 model goes down. Not a huge deal. Suppression's what matters more in this particular circumstance anyway. I would love to see if he could get another shot onto that group to suppress them again, so it just doesn't roll off at the end of the round. I think that'll make that play a lot stronger. Turn 2 definitely a little bit more exciting than the turn 1 of maneuvering, as we kind of come into the closing activations with I believe each player only having 2 activations left, excuse me. We have the snowtroopers on their home field advantage here for SuperNerd, as well as the dodge and fix the generator group, who's going to do that for this turn and next turn. And down here, we have got the red squad of troopers for BattleBear still to go, along with... I thought he had one other group that was still left to activate, but maybe I am wrong. I don't know where I'm miscounting things. In any case, I'm sure the players are keeping better track than I am. Snowtroopers lining up taking some measured shots here to see where he wants to try to go. He's got a couple interesting options. I wouldn't mind seeing them take some pot shots at Veers, who's out in the open and got no real cover. He's also got an exposed group of troopers. So that's just 2 guys left. If he can manage to just sneak a hit through, it gets rid of a DLT, but it is on a suppressed target, so they will get a little bit of cover. Not much, just a little bit. But they do have that aim token, so they can probably generate one. Weighing his options, he's got a handful of potential targets. So he throws his little dudes in the crater here. Try to get a little bit of cover benefit. He's posturing like he's going to try to push up that direction. Oh, maybe not. Pull his guys back and try to use the building now. Alright, he's going to try to knock out this squad of stormtroopers before they attack. I think there's a pretty good likelihood of that happening. Especially with that aim token. Rolls 2 surges, 3 blank dice, sadly. Snowtroopers do not have precise, I don't believe. So he only gets the 2 rerolls. And they go up in the air, and they come back down as 1 hit, 1 blank. So for 3 hits, suppression takes care of 1 of them. And if he can get 1 of these saves, he can keep a unit on the board. We roll more attack dice. The 2 red buttons are right next to each other. It's very easy to do. He gets both saves, man. His defense is tough. Like, these defensive saves have been pretty fantastic for BattleBear. Keeping that unit in the fight. It is doubly suppressed now. It's got 2 suppression tokens. But he's about to activate them. Maybe he can clear 1 away. And if nothing else, at the end of the round, 1 will go away, and then he'll just activate Veers early, hand out an aim token, inspire to give the other one away, and they'll be clean. Because I don't think they can be threatened anymore this turn. I'm really anxious for next turn. Get those clear conditions up. Let the ATST do its thing, and see if it can really push this battle in another direction. He goes to rally, fails both his saves. He's had some pretty clutch rallies earlier in the match, so don't think he can be too terribly disappointed. So one interesting thing you could try to do here, I don't know if he will or not, is he might be able to catch Vader, because I don't think objective tokens, let me see if they mouse over. Does not obscure line of sight. He might be able to catch Vader. Or he's just going to try to grenade these troopers down. Which it looks like is what he's got a dice pool for. And he returns fire into the orange snow troopers is what I imagine is happening, since it's the only thing at range 1. Does manage to get 2 hits on his 2 red dice. Getting 1 casualty inflicted and a suppression token. The all-important suppression token, which that suppression token is not very important, because it'll go away at the end of the round. Yeah, I might tried to see if I could. Yeah, I think I would have tried for Vader there, but it's a risky play because line of sight there is kind of funny, and it would be through heavy cover. But all right, and our last unimportant activation down here is going to be probably to fix this Vaporator, take a dodge token, call it a day. Maybe he'll move. He looks like he will. Not that it matters. He's just going to move to the other side of it to give him an extra inch next turn when he wants to fix it and then get on the move. I kind of liked where he was before, where he wasn't really peeking out. But I get the merit. I don't begrudge him it at all. So we've had BattleBear losing, it looks like, 8 models this turn, while SuperNerd only dropped 5, but he did manage to also take 5 wounds onto Vader. So I honestly think, like, while I think the early part of the turn was well in SuperNerd's favor, I think that they kind of equaled out. The thing that we have to remember, though, is that with that last action, SuperNerd is now up 2 victory points over his opponent. So we'll see if he can get Vader down and make it worth all the time and energy which he spent getting him down. Vader low, which I think it was worth it. What I would love to see here is I can't measure, but I would love to see if Veers can try to shoot Vader off the board with an ATST or with his AT-AT command card. That would be pretty rad. Which he just plays ambush instead, which I think is also very smart. And we get Master of Evil out here, which is a brutal card. He's in a pretty good spot for it, but it gives Vader that all-important dodge token during the order phase. So that's really crucial. BattleBear doing the obvious thing and ordering up that ATST for the to go all the shooty pew pews. Looks like he's going to order Vader, Veers, and a single trooper unit, and it will be these snow trooper units hanging out in the crater. All right, do we just blast Vader off the board? Is that the play here, or do you try to whittle away his dodge token with something else first? Yep, we're just going ATST time, it looks like. Can't say I blame him. Can't say I blame him at all. He's going to take an aim token. Looks like we get all kinds of dice into Vader. Vader is just at range 3. So that's going to be 3 reds, 3 blacks, and 3 whites. Trying to sneak. He's only got to sneak 3 damage through to get Vader. Not a great roll to start with 2 crits and 2 hits. Rerolling 2 black dice when there was a red die to be rolled, I think, is a bit of a misstep. Rolls into 2 more blanks. So basically, we need to keep the Vader. In order for Vader to die here, we need to have the Vader trend continue of him rolling nothing but blanks, because he spends the dodge token to take the 4 hits down to 3, which is equal to his health. So he still could flub the roll, but it's mathematically improbable. Dice go up, and all 3 blocks come through. So Vader takes no damage, is still on 3 health, but does not have a dodge token. And the ATST is done. Yeah, I think I would have liked maybe activating Red Squad first here and trying to take a pot shot at Vader, or maybe Yellow Squad to strip that token down. Because now Vader's going to go, he's going to Master of Evil everywhere. He's going to get another dodge token back with Force Reflexes and be a very scary man. Very, very scary. Just vomiting suppression everywhere. Master of Evil is so very good. By a country mile, I think Vader's best card. Implacable's good, but it does mean you have to damage yourself. And this was a great turn to use Master of Evil. Especially because I think this orange squad is definitely far away from Veers. So they are definitely in panic territory. And if he can get 2 attacks off, ranged attacks off before these blue and tan squads get to move, they will also be in panic territory, provided they fail their saves. Which I always just kind of expect my rally dice to do, and if they don't, I just treat it as a little Christmas present. So, Vader moving in. Looks like he's going to double move to try to get Yellow Squad off the board. Could go and engage Natural Squad with his second move. We'll see what he elects to do. He's very likely to get Yellow Squad off the board, so I kind of like that activation. But then again, that would expose him, meaning he can take more ranged fire. Sometimes you want to just get in there and not kill the unit that you move into base to base with, just so you can use them as a little shield. See what we do here. Vader activating his Force Reflexes. So he's taking a move action. I'm assuming that he has not tapped his Force Reflexes yet, but I'm assuming that's where that dodge token came from. I don't think you waddle up there and take a dodge action. Okay, so he is going to engage the ATST. He's going to use a lightsaber throw on it. I wasn't sure if, since it's kind of halfway through the game already, it's already made half of its turns, if he was just going to ignore it or not. Getting 3 hits. Not getting 3 hits, but getting enough to impact it over. So the ATST takes... Players are walking through the impact and armor and pierce steps. But at the end of the day, the ATST will end up taking 3 damage. Defense dice go up. 2 of them come through with Pierce. Vader's lightsaber is just it's so good. Everybody loves that lightsaber except me. I hate it. I wish Luke's was that good. Okay, and then Vader takes his second action to engage these 2 yellow troopers and using them as a shield. As I mentioned kind of earlier, it's a play that I really like to see. And Vader is done. See who comes out of the activation pile for BattleBear. It's probably a trooper, but it also could be Veers. Veers, he did not get a chance to order him, so he is at the mercy of the random stack. See what cruel fate. It is a trooper. What I'd really like to maybe see here is those yellow troopers, instead of getting angry and attacking Vader back, I would really like to see them take the disengage action, allowing orange and tan to both shoot into Vader if need be. Or you just ignore Vader for the turn, which I also think could be smart. He activates, it looks like, the Tan's troopers, if I had to guess. Rolling his rally dice of 3. And flubs all of them. So whatever he did just roll to rally is going to stay incredibly suppressed. Looks like he's doing some pre-measurements for his troopers. And we're going to take some pot shots at these snowtroopers in, I believe these boxes are heavy cover. Nope. Snowtroopers in light. Sounds good. So that is going to be a grand total, because the DLT is gone, with his 1 single action using Veers' bravery. He'll get 1 action to shoot 4 white dice, unmodified, into the snowtroopers in light cover. Yeah, if he can get the suppression train rolling on them, I think it'll help, especially before they activate, but I would not be too terribly shocked to see them activate next. Dice come down, all blanks. That's tough. You never like to see that. It is white dice. You at least want the hit to come up, even if it just gets absorbed by the cover, to still give suppression. That's tough. Tough. All right, back to the other side of the board with our red player. He's got a order token on Veers and some snowtroopers, and then a bunch of troopers in the pile that he can activate at his leisure. It looks like it is going to be an early Veers, who I imagine we're going to see fix that moisture vaporator and then hand out 2 aim tokens, putting him up 3-0. BattleBear definitely taking a few more turns to get into position. I also think the objectives started a little bit further away from him. And it's also helpful that all 8 of SuperNerd's activations are capable of interacting with objectives. Well, granted, only 7 of BattleBears can with the ATS, to just kind of stand in there, and he can't hold a wrench to fix a evaporator. can't get over like how tight and how many corridors this little map they've built has. Like this crater is the absolute devil where it is. It's kind of rad. So yep, Veer's doing Veer's things, playing the support role, fixing stuff, and handing out aim tokens. Back over to BattleBear in the blue trunks. He's got to pull from that pile and see if it's troopers, see if it's Veers, see what happens. Hope everybody out there is having a grand time. Thanks for stopping by. I've had more than one viewer, so that's been nice. It's more than I was expecting with the other FFG announcements going on Twitch, but I imagine those might be over now at this point. So we are a little over, probably, I would say we're probably about halfway done. A little ways into turn number 3. The latter turns tend to go pretty quick as the board state kind of settles and activations start coming off the board. We haven't quite seen that yet, but it's going to be a mad dash for victory points here soon, where we're going to not prioritize... Oh, and we just broke a TTS moving tool in half, as tends to happen. Snowtroopers moving up to contest this Vaporator. I like that play a lot. That steady ability is going to be very good for claiming these objectives, because he can double move into base-to-base contact and then shoot and be ready to fix it next turn. Taking some pot shots across some... I don't know how you'd roll cover there. I'm glad I don't have to. I'd say he can get the edge of his base, not through the cover, so half the unit would be exposed, but I could see the argument going the other way too. We'll see what dice get rolled. These dice are always fun. This is a pretty gnarly group of snowtroopers here. This is the set that has their special weapon active, but he decides to go for grenades. Gets 2 hits. Has an aim token. Rerolls into another surge for 3 hits. So far, only 1 defense die has come out, so it looks like the players have agreed that it was the heavy cover applied, which I definitely can understand. Gets the block, so just a suppression comes down. Once again, that suppression is very important, because it means they can either claim the objective, which is now being pressured, or they can take a pot shot, but probably not both. Alright, Red's turn. See what he wants to do here. I'd actually really like to see this group on the far corner go and start pressuring that flank. But he is going to choose to activate in the middle of the board. One of the groups that Veers has torqued up with an aim token. Maybe he's wiggling his activation token around a little bit, trying to see what's going on here. He does activate and take a move action with this group in the crater, really using environmental gear to its fullest here. I like to see that a lot. I'm sure it'll never happen, but I would love to see a little upgrade pack where I can buy just 6 copies of that. I want 6 copies of environmental gear. He's going to scoot up, not quite the full 2 on the movement template, but try to hide around the building using those boxes as cover. I think that's clever. Always getting to use cohesion to your advantage is a big thing you always need to be mindful of in this game. As long as he can keep 3 of his models behind these boxes here for whatever's going to shoot him next, then he'll be in cover, which it looks like he should be able to do pretty easily. And I imagine here we'll get a big attack into the blue snow trooper squad before they get to activate themselves. This group is equipped with some concussion grenades, so I imagine we'll see 4 black dice and 2 red dice from the DLT. You never want to ignore that. Red dice on stormtroopers are pretty strong, 1 blank and all. Yeah, 4 black dice, 2 reds with an aim token is nothing to sneer at. What is 5? I just can't count today. Rolling 6 hits, only needing to re-roll 1 of those dice. It does come up blank. As we get some big defensive roll does not come up, only with 2 out of 6 blocks. It's a little below average, not too much. Still not nearly as far as below average as Vader's defensive rolls have been, but it still hurts to have to pull 4 models off the board, leaving just a unit leader, I believe. He's a very, very scared little unit leader. So we see where we move on to next. Veers comes out. Veers was in the random pile for BattleBear here, so he didn't really get to control when he goes. It's nice that he's coming out a little bit early. He's got a couple different options with him. He can either move up and try to get these couple squads some aim tokens, or he can go kind of aggro himself. He did forget to inspire last round. He's got a couple targets that would be, well, really only 1 target that is for sure. I can't measure to see if that other one would be. But it looks like Veers is going on the offensive. I like to see it. Gonna charge into battle headlong. He's thinking about it. He's got a couple interesting options. And he does try to go to the direction where he's going to be able to play the little more utility role, and it looks like hand out a couple of aim tokens. He can give out those aim tokens to range 2, so just about everybody that he needs. It'll be interesting to see who he elects to give them to. Oh, nobody. He's just going to choose to shoot. I'm not exactly sure who he's shooting. Hopefully one of the players can ping it for me. Yeah, alright, cool. Shooting this orange group of stormtroopers. Veers' gun is nothing to sneer at except for when it completely whiffs on 3 white dice. That is no fun. Yeah, Veers' gun, when it hits, it pops off nice, with that surge to crit on 3 white dice with Pierce. But alas, at the end of the day, there's still white dice. So Veers' activation is finito. Back over to the red side. It's just a handful of troopers left. He's got 1 face-up order token still on the board. But really, he can activate his units in any order he wishes. taking a sec to think about it, weigh all his options. He moved his mouse over real quickly. He was going to activate one group, and then it just kind of hung out there. Uh-oh. We have a player has disconnected our red player. So we'll wait a few minutes here and see what happens. That is no fun. See if our players can figure out what's going on here. Well, guys, since we have a bit of a lull in the action here, we'll give him a few minutes to get reconnected. Could be computer problems, could be, you know, any number of things. Maybe llamas attacked his house. Who knows? I'm going to mute myself for a minute. I'm going to grab another drink of water and throw up our logo screen, and we will be right back. Looks like our blue player has returned. So we will jump back in about halfway through turn 3. The snowtroopers in the crater have activated. They've got an aim token. I believe that was from Veers earlier, if I'm not mistaken. And it looks like they're going to try to take a little pot shot at Orange Brigade here and try to force them maybe off the board. Or at least not off the board, but towards the board edge. Also, it's a great spot to take cover from an ATST that may annihilate you. You never know. Got some stormtroopers throwing some grenades at Orange Squadron here. They do have a little bit of cover to get rid of one hit. So far, 2 crits come up, 1 hit, and a blank ski. Squad is suppressed, so the grenade or the suppression absorbing one of the damages. Seeing if he's thinking about using his second aim to reroll that hit just to hope for a crit. Decides not to, rolls into a blank. So 2 damage will go through. Or not go through, but be saved against. One blank or 1 surge, which stormtroopers don't get, and 1 block. So 1 model comes off. Doing a pretty good job of pressuring BattleBear's flank over here that is away from Veers. He's slowly moving Veers that direction. I can't measure things as a spectator. TTS doesn't give me the tools. So we'll see what happens. He removed 2 models from the board, which he only should have removed, I think, 1 of. But okay, well, that's a thing. Unless I am missing something. I don't think there's any pierce or any action like that going on. No? Okay. He's going to go ahead and respond by activating Orange Squad with 4 suppression tokens. Got to make a big hero rally roll here. See how much of the suppression he can clear, or is he just going to run away in terror? He does get 2 suppression, so he doesn't. He might still be panicked, but that's still a pretty good roll. Let's see if Veers is in range. We can bring that. Hopefully, they'll bring the rangefinder up. He uses Veer's bravery to stay unpanicked. And he does. He's safe. He's like, it's a very clutch move to get Veers where he needed to be to inspire his troops, who are getting maliciously hammered on by Vader, and he'll get a couple of dice back into the Snowtrooper squad. DLT's still there, so they still have a little bit of oomph to them. Rolling 3 hits with a grenade. 1 grenade from the squad leader and the DLT. Defense dice go up. Defense dice come down with 2 surges and a block. Those are the rolls you hope Vader gets when he spends a dodge token, not Snowtroopers though. So 2 models will be going down. This one board edge is getting pretty scrappy. If Vader can get cleaned up here, I think BattleBear still has a pretty good chance to hold the middle. But he's got to dislodge Vader. And he's got to do it and still have enough actions to swing the victory points back in his favor, because he is up 3-0. Soon to probably be 4-0 this round, or this turn. Our red player debating which trooper squad he wishes to activate, and he is going to go with the safe bet on the far end and go ahead and probably fix and take a shot, or fix and move if he doesn't have anybody in range, but I imagine he will. But he does have a couple guys who are going to be obstructed, so he won't probably get his full dice pool if he chooses just to shoot and not move. Oh, no, we're activating a different squad. All right. Keeping me guessing. They're keeping me guessing. For those of us that may have just joined us, we are playing Secure the Moisture Evaporators, or Repair them. I don't know. What is this objective called? Sabotage. On major offensive with limited visibility, that is pretty much irrelevant at this point of the game. Our ATST has already shot this turn, and this is turn 3, where there's only a range 4 limitation, and everything is all clear next turn. So something that's interesting that I think both players are probably considering, with the way that they've built this map, neither one of them has played their Blizzard card yet, where Veers climbs into his ATST, takes a big shot, and tries to wipe something out. Mainly because they haven't really needed to yet, but both of these Veers models have gotten pretty well entrenched in the fight, and everything's probably within range since it's all so concentrated. But it looks like right now we've got a big old group of stormtroopers taking some cover in a crater, taking some pot shots, and rolling a whopping, all 7 of them came up. Not exactly sure who he was shooting at, because I don't see anybody in range 1, and he rolled black dice. So maybe he just likes rolling dice. For some reason, and I'm not exactly sure why, I can't hear the players anymore. But that's okay. We're still following along pretty well. 7 big defense dice come up. Holy cow, manages to grab 4 of them. Little better than average. 2 surges. Those surges seem to be coming up a lot today for units that don't matter. Some big damage coming away. Oh, is that group there? Okay. That was a really, really close range one-shot. Cool. Concussion grenades, in that case, coming in big because they were definitely behind heavy cover. But that's why concussion grenades are probably 90% of the time better than impact grenades, but impact grenades, when you need them, are probably 90% better than concussion. One might say they're more impactful. I'll see myself out. All right, so back to the blue player. Draws the trooper, which he's only thing he's got left. He's got 3 more trooper squads that have yet to activate. This tan squad here, yellow squad here, red squad, and this blue squad. Is he... maybe I missed... oh, this tan squad's already activated, it looks like. So this lonely... the world's loneliest snowtrooper makes a rally roll. He is suppressed, so he only gets a single action, but snowtroopers don't care because they can still shoot. See what he decides here to do with it. I'd actually really like to see the snowtrooper. He looks like he's going to take a shot. Really like to see him take a move first. Because he can always shoot after with the steady keyword. But maybe he likes where he is, and I can understand that. You know, this guy's just kind of a suppression generator at this point anyway. He's already range 1 to throw his grenade, which is really what he's looking for. I think BattleBear is definitely on the ropes here, with his units getting more and more thinned out, with the exception of that big ol' ATST. It's really going to have to swing him back into the game. The problem is he's going to have to try to keep objectives on the map to where even if he starts to turn the tide of battle, he's still got enough dudes on the map to grab victory points. I don't know what my Discord is acting up. I can see that the players are talking. I'm in the chat room. I just can't hear them, and I don't know why. It's all good, though. It's all good. So the snowtrooper looks like he's just going to retreat. Can't say I blame him. Back over to the red player. He's got a couple squads still left to activate. A couple choices. Interesting choices on how he wants to time things out. See how he elects to do it here. So he's going to activate his group of 4 snowtroopers. They've been relatively unimpeded in their march across the map up to this point. They've got a pretty good shot at Veers if they want to try to take it, or they can try to erase this red group of troopers before they can activate, which I would actually really like to see. Just getting activations off the board is a pretty handy thing to do, especially when you're up in victory point control. You can really start to put the pressure on. Takes his free move. I shouldn't say free move. His first move to get into the light covered terrain here. It looks like into this crater. Then he's going to take an aim token. And then he'll use his steady shot. And we'll see where he goes. Take the shot into the red squad. They've got light cover because they are suppressed. So it'll be 4 black dice because everybody has grenades. Everybody has grenades. Getting 2 hits. Spend that aim token to reroll those 2 blanks into a crit. Suppression gets rid of. They're impact grenades, so he should have gotten cover there, although they didn't factor that into the roll. Looks like they're catching it now. Maybe. Yep. And they're going to re-roll the dice. 2 big blocks, so they stand tall, taking only a suppression token. Keeping those DLTs on the board as long as possible is, I think, super critical for BattleBear right now. Just because those white Stormtrooper dice, even if you're just trying to shoot just to put suppression tokens out there, your red dice are going to do that far more effectively than your white dice. As we saw with that Snowtrooper shot, I believe, on turn 2. That just completely whiffed. Alright, BattleBear quickly moving that activation token over to the red squad, realizing that they could potentially get knocked out before they have a chance to do anything. They do have 2 suppression tokens, so they'll probably only get 1 action unless a big rally comes through. See what he elects to do. Does indeed activate the red squad. Loads up his 2 rally dice. And we will see what they say. He gets both of them. That is clutch. That is absolutely huge. Making them unimpeded, ready for action. Looks like he is going to get a move on. Pulling out that movement tool into base-to-base contact, so cover doesn't matter. Pulling the DLT with him. Yeah, once again, that's something that I'll need the math nerds on the internet to tell me what to believe on. Is 2 black dice with no cover better than a black and 2 reds with cover 1? I'm not entirely certain, to be honest. So they're just moving everybody into a big melee brawl. Manages to roll 2 hits though on his melee attack as he jumps into the crater. Snowtroopers load up some save dice. Throw them up in the air like they just don't care. We lag and we get 1 and 1. Everything you'd perfectly expect for a red Stormtrooper defense. 50% of the blocks going through. So 1 model is removed. No suppressions gained because of suppression is only coming from melee attacks. And that'll wrap up their activation, leaving only yellow squad left for BattleBear, And we've still got 2 more activations for the SuperNerd. They're pretty key activations, too. Both of them should net him some victory points, unless he decides to play a little bit more aggressive of a route. But going up 6-0 is gives you a nice little comfort factor. Knowing that you can focus fully on aggression for a moment or two. He's moving back and forth. He's not sure who he wants to attack or who he wants to activate first. He does go with the safe squad in the rear. That's got a little bit bigger dice pool, and that tells me he wants to be aggressive. Brings up the movement tool. And takes a move. Leaving, trying to remember if he left a damage. He must have cleared it off, so his activation was remove the damage. To fix it, giving him another victory point. Meaning the score is currently 4-0. Yellow Trooper time. Are they just going to try to punch Vader in the head and squeak a damage through? Or is he going to try to... well, I guess we got to see if he's suppressed first. See what kind of suppression. That'll make a bit of a difference. Completely whiffs on the rally roll, but that's okay because he had the great rally roll on the Red Troopers just last activation. So he doesn't get rid of any of those. He's definitely well within Veers' leadership bubble, so not panicked just yet. Sounds like dice are getting loaded into the tray, so he's just going to punch Vader. Rolling 2 crits, meaning Vader cannot spend his dodge token. That is killer. Taking 2 damage. Vader is on 1. So, players messing up here a little bit with the dodge tokens because the dodge tokens cannot cancel crits. If Vader lives with 1 health, that'll be a deal. But we shall see. We shall see. Man, that's insane. That is absolutely insane. Yeah, that was a hero roll. But as a commentator, I gotta bite my tongue on these things. It's their game to play. Not mine. But the story that you viewers, dear viewers, know is that roll for those almost dead stormtroopers who have taken it in the face all game, had finally had enough, and stood up to Imperial tyranny. So, alright, last group of troopers activates for the round. They have 2 suppression tokens. They managed to clear 1 for the SuperNerd. Still meaning they only get 1 action. I would really like to see them just grab a victory point off this Moisture Vaporator and call it a day. They can obviously shoot at some guys and do some things, but at the end of the day, it's a victory point game, and he's got a pretty big lead, so I would like to see him just make that lead a little bit bigger. Just get that little comfort factor going. So BattleBear has a really interesting choice. I would love to see him next turn play his Blizzard card, because now that those troopers have come around the side of the building here that had taken that safe evaporator, they are clearly at range 4. Yep, and they're measuring it. Looks like he's measuring it now. I would love to see him get some shots off with his Blizzard, and I think that's the best target he's going to get. I don't think he'll get another good shot. Looks like they're both measuring. For different Veers, I think we'll have a Veers roll off and see who can manage to pull and do what. I will say, if SuperNerd there does decide to go that route, even though we're not to the command stage yet, yep, looks like he just fixes the moisture evaporator, and that will be the round. If he does decide to do that, and they both play their Veer's 1-pip cards, that very well could mean Vader dies, because if Vader doesn't have a dodge token out there, he's 2 damage isn't unreasonable for him to take. BattleBear definitely has his card pulled out. I think, yeah, he's only got one real option. I think SuperNerd has. I think Implacable could be good, just for the 1. I don't think you necessarily need it for the ability, because if the damage was tallied correctly, he shouldn't be able to use his ability. But this could be a turn where some big damage goes, because this game, it's not looking good for BattleBear. I won't begrudge him that, but he's definitely not out of it yet. He's got to get some good rally rolls. He's got to stop playing the fighting game and move into the objective game as soon as Vader dies. He's got to throw bodies at moisture vaporators and try to get some tokens onto them. Because sand is flowing out of the hourglass as we start turn 4, and as activations are going to start coming off the board. The only activation that he has that's very safe doesn't have hands in an ATST, and Veers is kind of far away from Vaporator. So they both do play the Blizzard card, maximum firepower, where at the end of General Veers' activation, he does a big ol' attack with 4 red dice that are immune to deflect with impact 2. They're rolling to see who gets the roll off, and it is going to be blue. So BattleBear will get the first activation. I would really like to see him here not activate Veers first. Even though it is sometimes really tempting to. But I'd go fishing in that pile for either your ATST or some troopers to try to go light up the Darth Vaders. But you never know. I haven't really thought about how I would play Veers, so I don't think about Imperial things very often. He is going to activate Veers first. Can't begrudge him that. Hand out a few aim tokens, more than likely. Maybe take a pot shot himself. And then do his shooty bang bang with Blizzard. So it does look like 2 aim tokens come out. One of them goes to Tan Squad. One of them is going to go to Red Squad. All right. It looks like he's trying to engage in he's aiming up his melee guys. I'm not sure that first aim token if it's on Tan or Yellow Squad, but the players know. I can see them talking in chat that I just can't hear for some strange reason. Discord is weird sometimes. TTS is weird sometimes. OBS is weird sometimes. So could be any number of things. But as long as my audio is still going through the stream, actually it'd probably be a blessing for you guys if that didn't work. But you're stuck. All right. Looks like we're going to get some hot Veers on Veers action here. Veers rolls some dice, and in typical Veers fashion, rolls a whole bunch of blanks. That is the second time Veers' pea shooter has done absolutely 0. But He's not there to be your offensive powerhouse. He's there to just kind of be that utility player. And I really like this from SuperNerd. He pulls from the pile. Oh, I guess we do have to shoot. We do have to shoot Blizzard. And I think his only eligible target is probably this yellow highlighted group of troopers out here. I think is his only real shot. Yep. I think the players are concurring with that. There's one other group that he could target, but there's a giant building in the way. So he can't see it with his little binoculars. Thanks, Talkpolite, for letting me know. I'm glad. I'm glad you guys get to hear me out. I'm sorry for you. So the big AT-AT comes down, shoots, gets 4 hits onto a fully loaded squad of stormtroopers at 6 bodies. Impact won't do much good, but it's still going to give it a suppression, which always is helpful. Especially because that squad is trying to come and reinforce this objective point. And it could pull some bodies off the board, which is always nice. They haven't quite rolled defense dice yet. I think they're arguing maybe a line of sight. Viewers can see the squad, I think, but you never know. Yeah, they're talking about whether the building's in the way or not. Well, 2 defensive dice have been put in the tray, but not all 4. I am confused. I can see Talkpolite is now talking, so he's probably informing them on how a rule works. All right. So 3 defense dice were rolled instead of 4. I guess they're taking into account cover. I don't know where the cover is coming from, but all right. Talkpolite ruled it, so I'm good with it. I'm just confused, but that's all good. I'm used to being confused. Because if it was light cover, must have been heavy cover of some kind. Because Sharpshooter from Veers would get rid of just the light cover. But anytime you play this game, you're gonna forget a few things here and there. Both players definitely have, because there's so many counters and tokens and moving parts, and you're trying to keep an eye on tempo, and you're trying to think about the pace of the game and when timing is this unit's going to attack versus the other unit. Okay. So Talkpolite's telling us in chat that they deemed it that it was heavy cover, and then Sharpshooter reduced down to 1. Sounds perfectly reasonable. And it looks like we've got a big group of stormtroopers attacking a tiny group of stormtroopers to try to push them off an objective point. Dice getting loaded in and taking a whopping 6 damage, or 6 hits coming up, which is pretty awesome for those white dice. Only 1 of 4 coming up with a blank result, one of them being a crit no less, and the 2 red dice being crits no less. And those dice are now going to go away because they're going to throw them in favor of grenades. And those dice are not good, believe it or not. We went from 1 blank white die, to 1 hit on a black die, meaning a total of 3 hits. 3 blocks come through. 3 block dice, only one of the blocks coming up, so 2 casualties are taken, wiping out the squad, sadly. Right as they were about to go sliding into home plate for an objective tag, they were snuffed out. And it looks like this squad is then going to take a move action to get in better position for next round. Might even be engaging in this little snowtrooper. Just go punch him to death. So now we're in this this really interesting waiting game. Who comes out of the pile first? Does the ATST come out of the pile, or does Vader come out of the pile first? If Vader comes out and he either disengages or murderates the yellow squad and then is exposed, he'll probably have to spend a move action to get engaged with Tan to stay safe from that ATST. Or does the ATST have other plans of how he wants to live his life? SuperNerd here taking great advantage. I want to say that Squad of Troopers has just about every activation used its environmental gear to give itself some cover. BattleBear draws a trooper group and is going to try to rally. It looks like his yellow troopers who are in melee with Vader. They don't. Veers is still there to keep them brave. It just means they don't get a second action. I would not be surprised here to see if they try to swing in on Vader and sneak a damage in or not. That's exactly what they're going to do. He rolls 1 critical and 1 blank. Vader rolls a die and gets a block. So no damage taken there. Simple, quick, straightforward. That's why these activations tend to go pretty quick in the latter rounds of a game. Red's up, draws a trooper. Probably not what he would like to see. I think he wants the comfort of getting Vader a dodge token. Leaving him out there exposed is always a little unsettling. He's going to activate his group that is in melee with a red squad here. Is what it's looking like he's doing. Is where he's dropped his token. He hasn't quite activated a group yet. I don't think it's a bad move, trying to maybe eliminate another group before it activates, getting him up 2 activations on the turn, which can definitely be pretty killer. Nope, he's gonna play the safe game, and he's just gonna activate the group that is at the objective point to try to go ahead and claim it, giving him a bunch of points. Putting him up 6-0. This is getting pretty grim for BattleBear, just because he's not necessarily losing the fight, which I think he's definitely falling behind on, but just the fact that he needs 3 solid actions just to tie the game, and that's always tough. He's taking a pot shot with that squad, only netting a crit and a hit. Shooting at this lowly snowtrooper out in the middle of nowhere, and it looks like dice go up. And they come back down, gets 1 block, but that is enough to get the trooper off the board, eliminating yet another activation. So we can look at BattleBear's activation pile here. He's still got 6 activations in that stack. But 2 of them aren't going to do anything because they were alive at the start of the round. Which, honestly, like, you kind of want them to be able to come out of the pile sooner rather than later, because it means he's going to get to activate his ATST quicker. And it gives you a higher likelihood of pulling your ATST without having to activate another group of troopers that you might want on the board a little longer. He's got some tough choices here, because all of his groups are really dwindling. I who he wants to prioritize activating. Looks like his melee experts, the red squad, are going to take an aim token, meaning they have 2 aim tokens. By gosh, they're going to get 2 hits in. And they're going to throw some dice and try to win this melee fight just to be reinforced by another squad. Dice go up and come down, and it's a hit and a crit. Defense dice come up and say 2 blocks, so no suppression since it's a melee attack. And we get to watch a Stormtrooper deal no damage with 2 aim tokens. That's something you don't really get to see any day. Ever. I don't think I've ever seen that happen. 2 aiming melee Stormtroopers not hitting anything. Alright, Trooper comes up from SuperNerd. Looks like he wants to activate this group of snowtroopers that's hanging out in the back. Oh, no, maybe. Looks like he's gonna try to finish the fight that he tried to start here. I would have much rather seen, instead of a second aim token, I get the fact that you want to try to secure hits. I would have loved to have seen that been a dodge token to try to keep your group alive for another attack. But it looks like we get 3 black dice, because there's 3 models in that unit, with an aim token. Go into the pool. Crit hit for 3. 3 defense dice come down, and only 1 block, eliminating the unit. Needed 2 to come up to leave the unit leader. If nothing else, you kind of want that unit leader to stay there just so you can make them commit another action, because actions are incredibly important in this game, and now make them commit another action to fighting you off. Draws another trooper tile. I've been waiting for him to go with this unit. This is probably his most powerful squad on the map right now, even though it is just 2 models, with the exception, of course, of the ATST. Because it's his only remaining DLT, that thing that's going to consistently pepper out damage. He needs to try to get himself into a situation where he can pop that into Vader and make Vader go away. But I imagine he's going to try to just maybe finish off this snowtrooper squad before it activates. He's clearly got them exposed. And just try to catch up on that activation count. Like he's going to move out just to be sure that he gets a clear shot and that he's staying very far away from Vader. That way Vader can't do any like force choke shenanigans on his DLT. Taking a pot shot into the snowies. Should be black, red, red, because everybody came with grenades. I'd be anxious to talk to some more Imperial players. I know most of the community out there does play Imperials over Rebels, but Knoxville is kind of strange, and we've got a pretty even split, if not Rebel favored. And if everyone just always takes grenades all the time, 2 hits coming up from the attack. If you can get both of them to go through, the squad is dead. The squad does save 1 and will stay on the board, leaving just the unit leader. Would have been nice to get that other one hit through to try to catch up a little bit on the activation game, but the dice said no. Pulls from the pile. Cannot pull this Vader to save his life. Cannot pull that Vader to try to get that dodge token up, and I think it's a race to see what if he can get that dodge, because I would love to see this ATSD come running into melee and kick Vader to death. I think that's a real possibility of what could happen here. Kick Vader into death and then use Arsenal to maybe shoot Veers or pin down a squad of some sort, because they are kind of lined up in a line there. Arsenals sometimes include feet. Instead, activates this group that's been doing a really good job of holding the middle of the map. I want to say this squad of stormtroopers has kind of just moved in this triangle the whole game, like just putting a little bit of pressure, putting one more attack here and there whenever he needs just another model down. Looks like he's lining up for a shot. This is probably, with the exception of Darth Vader, this is probably SuperNerd's most powerful squad left on the map. He's got two squads that are in pretty good health, but I really like the position there. And it looks like he's going to take the range 4 DLT shot into the ATST, and then he'll spend his other dice somewhere else. 2 dice come up. 1 blank, 1 hit. Impact 1 turns that into a hit, or into a critical, meaning the ATST gets 1 save. We'll see what comes up. Oh, that is too many dice. All right, they're pulling one of the dice out. There we go. And it's a blank. I always expect those white defense dice to come out blank as a Rebel player. You just you celebrate each little one that you can manage to pull. ATST's still doing fine. It's taken 4 wounds. It's only halfway to breaking, let alone being destroyed. White dice come out and do absolutely nothing. Not even putting any suppression onto Veers that he was trying to start Pepper with to get rid of that leadership bubble. All right, back to BattleBear, who's probably my favorite name ever. As someone from East Tennessee, we have had to do battles with bears in the past. Not very big bears, but black bears, and they are fearsome. BattleBear pulling out all of the troopers that are dead, although technically he should have activated. He needs to activate this tan squad first before he removes unused ones. That's down by Veers. Unless I missed their activation, but I don't think that group has gone yet. I would hate for him to miss a couple of activations because they won't catch it till the end of the round. But yep, here comes that ATST to come kick Vader in the teeth. Yeah, I think BattleBear's just, there's a lot going on, and I know this turn has been kind of tough on him, and I can make you forget little triggers, but he does have this group of troopers he has yet to activate. But I do like this bringing up the ATST into base to base with Vader. It's no slouch with its melee attack dice. Bringing in 4 reds. Probably his best chance to murderate him. Vader has 6 wound tokens. Hopefully he can push the 4 through. Gets 3. Vader gets 3 defense dice. Looks like our judge is chatting with him. Being a good judge, probably catching the activation, the missed activation. Don't know exactly how they want to handle that, but that's a pretty big deal, missing activations. Especially since they did they physically deleted the tokens, which told me that they just didn't forget about it or misinterpret a rule they They just forgot how to do that. So I'm not exactly sure how to pull an activation token out of thin air. That is something I've not had to do before. But we'll get it sorted out here in a minute, folks. Thank you for being patient. So we fiddle with some tokens and get some stuff sorted out. All right, there we go. So it looks like we will be activating the Tan Troopers now, who are at an interesting crossroads. They can try to rally. I think the rally will determine really what they do. They get rid of one of their 2 suppression tokens, so they're still only at 1 action. I would actually really like to see them just go into base-to-base contact with the, hopefully, their leader can get there with a piece of heavy cover and the objective. Looks like he's probably going to try to take a pot shot. Tracing through that is heavy cover, though. I think BattleBear here's got just a little bit of bloodlust, and needs to focus more on objectives. But looks like we're going to pull up the rangefinder and see if he can catch some people with a grenade. He's going to take the long shot. All right. Shooting the gap between the hill and this building into this exposed group of troopers. Since the unit leader is not in base-to-base with this heavy piece of heavy cover, it should provide some shielding. As the dice do come out, 4 white dice, only 1 goes through, so it should just be a piece of suppression. All right, they do roll a save anyway, but it goes through, so same difference. Another trooper token comes out for a SuperNerd in the red trunks. He's got to be, how many activations does he have left? He's got 3, including the one he's got, plus General Veers. Looks like he's going to activate this lone little snowtrooper. At least that's where he's put his activation disc down. Whether he'll actually use it or not, still to be determined. But he still has a face-up order on Veers. I think he's just kind of holding it to see if he needs it and where he wants to shoot his giant pew-pew laser gun after he's done. Stormtrooper, lone snowtrooper, excuse me, moves up. Has a suppression. So he only gets the 1 action. But does spend his movement, and then he should get his free steady shot. And he looks like he's going to throw just a die into an ATST, pray for a crit, and gets it. Holy cow. Cows can fly. That is absolutely hilarious. Save does not block, so another, just a guy with a shotgun goes running at an ATST and manages to pull a damage off. That's pretty funny. You don't get to see that every day. Should put be the 5th point of damage onto the ATST. It's getting close to the. It is 1 Vader saber throw away from being broken, but Vader probably won't get that opportunity. So it looks like now we're going to move our ATST up into probably still a good idea to go into melee, try to save its life. Moving into melee also may break its bubble with Veers, so Veers doesn't get his big attack off at the end of the round. So the ATST can now fire with 2 of its guns. Its first gun's probably going to go into Vader with its chicken kicking feat, and then I imagine it'll use its main gun probably into Veers. Gets 3 hits. That's definitely a good start. Vader throws 3 dice. Survey says only 1 block, so that is Vader taken off, and that makes me happy that he had 1 point of overkill. So that means the misappropriated dodge earlier didn't matter. That's always nice to see. That happy, as Bob Ross would say, happy little mistakes. But Vader goes down. That's definitely huge. That means no more infinite bravery, and maybe the battle can turn. And it also means that Yellow Squad lives. And at this stage in the game, every activation counts. Lots of troopers are getting down in activations. So just anything you can do to keep bodies on the board to try to score objective points, BattleBear really needs. So him keeping them alive is killer, and that's a huge lifeline. I'm anxious to see what he can do with it. So he does get Arsenal. He can perform another attack now. And it looks like he is just going to catch General Veers in range 3, and so I imagine that'll be our ATST's main gun, peppering him down. He's also got the Red Squadron, but he is going to go for Veers. He's like, I just killed 1 commander. Let's see if I can go for 2. Because honestly, like right now, I think what BattleBear's play needs to be is he needs to definitely catch up in the victory point race, and that's gonna be no easy feat. But I'm pretty sure with bringing down Vader, if he can knock off a few more units, he can definitely catch back up in the points destroyed race. He needs to pick off that lone snowtrooper squad, and then he's also got the wounded squad that was in melee, pretty low. And if he can get 1 or 2 squads and then both commanders, I think he might, and tie the game, which is a huge tall order, he might be able to pull this game back. The ATST throwing 4 hits into Veers. And Veers' dice go up, and they come down with 3 blocks, so only 1 damage going through onto General Veers, who's just kind of hanging out, minding his own business. And, of course, the all-important suppression token. So that, I believe, concludes BattleBear's, all of his activations. And we've still got a couple, 2 left, plus the face-up order on General Veers. And it looks like he is going to go ahead and activate General Veers now. Roll into Rally. Isolating just that 1 little rally die. Does blank, not a huge deal. He's not suppressed yet because that is only the first time that he's been attacked, so he still gets both his actions. Now we'll see if both players forget Inspire, and then they can just forget Inspiring together. Because that is something that honestly seems to be like the most easily missed trigger. And it is. He totally forgets that he could pull it off of this Stormtrooper squad. That is so funny. Everybody, when you start going to Legion tournaments, when they start coming to your area, just if you're bringing a unit with Inspire, write it on your hand, write it on your feet, write on the inside of your eyelids. Don't forget it. Looks like this ATST is just in range 3, so since Veers handed out aim tokens, he has to move and not instead of shoot. And I know he really would have liked to take a shot there, but he's got to be sure to get out of range so he can, which is just barely. That's really funny. But he's now out of range 3, so the ATST's at range 4, and we're gonna get the big Blizzard attack. I'm probably wrong. Someone in the chat tell me. I believe General Veers' AT-AT is Blizzard 1. I don't know Imperial lore that well. I'm a Rebel player. Dice go up, dice come down. Both Veerses rolling 3 hits on their Blizzard attacks. That's kind of funny. Let's see if as we roll 3 white attack dice, he rolls hit and a surge. That doesn't help though. So we'll roll 3 defense dice instead. Let me check something here. So maximum firepower only has impact 2, so the AT-ST should only take 2 damage. But by spending his aim token, he does manage to get it up to 3 by re-rolling into a crit, a surge to a crit, and then I guess the impact would flip over those 2 dice, making it 4 hits. So we'll get this right the second time. Oh, that's tough. Completely whiffs, as you expect the AT-ST to do, putting it at 9 damage and breaking it. So he may be able to get this AT-ST down. If so, then I think that BattleBear is out of luck. Because he really needs those points on the board to contest if a tie were to happen. But it probably won't. This game's getting real scrappy real quick. Let's see how it goes. So we should have a damage die roll come out for the AT-ST. See how it falls apart in miscellaneous ways. As the players can't decide which dice to roll. It is just the block. The block's not the end of the world. That's the one that says if you get you're damaged, and if you when you activate, you roll a white die. If it's a blank, a white defense die. If it is a blank, then you only get 1 action. It's the most common one to happen. Not the biggest of deals, because basically, as the AT-ST, you get to roll that die and see if you get to aim or not. We've got the damage token out there, and now we've got 2 more trooper activations for our red player, SuperNerd. He's got this group hanging out on the flank, which I think is going to do... they might be able to get some more work done, but that flank has been pretty cleared up. I think they're just going to kind of march forward and then start shooting at Veers. And I believe the other group of troopers that he has to activate are gone. I think it's probably this group of... no, this group of snow troopers should have 1 guy left. He's there. I don't know where the other group is, because they've got an activation token. I'm very confused. Oh, it was Darth Vader's token. Okay, that makes sense. I'm not confused anymore. These players are so smart. They are way smarter than me. All right, so these guys roll for some suppression. They try to rally. They don't. So they're just going to kind of move and start pressuring the side of the map, getting set up to move next turn. So taking stock going into turn 5, it's a hot mess, to say the least. This tight board that the players have constructed is kind of going a bit how I thought it might, with Vader going down. This is the key to BattleBear strategy. While the AT-ST is a little more engaged than I think it wanted to be, because we've got to keep in mind that the snow troopers for SuperNerd do have impact grenades, and there's this snow trooper just hanging out right here who can go and absolutely wreck. And then his other group of snow troopers aren't far away either. So this could smell doom for the AT-ST. Looks like they are both going to play their 3 Veers cards, which when you issue an order to General Veers and 2 other units, they get to recover. I don't know that it's a huge impact. I think it's definitely more helpful for BattleBear because he does have 1 unit that has suppression on it within range of his Veers, so he can go ahead and just get a freebie suppression. But other than that, it's just the thing that lets you activate the most orders out of your pile. And we see SuperNerd here have 2 other cards in his hand, but we know one of them is Implacable and the other is Standing Orders. And Implacable cannot be played. So that could be good for turn 6 for BattleBear if he's forcing his opponent to play Standing Orders when it's a turn that he knows he can get the initiative. The players had a roll off. I'm a bad observer and didn't catch who got it. I'm terrible at my job, so you guys can leave us horrible feedback on that. But it does seem to be that red SuperNerd put his tokens out first, so that tells me that he's going to take the first activation. And he's going to move with Danger Squad here, this full up Stormtrooper squad, and probably really, I imagine he's going to pressure Veers. Maybe he'll try to get down with the yellow squad, but he's going to take at least the DLT into the ATST. We'll see how many dice he loads into the pool. He's going to shoot everything at the ATST. He just wants to bring it down. I like it. He's getting... Well, some might say that's a little greedy. It nets him 1 crit to start. He does have Impact 1, which he goes ahead and spends. So that Impact 1 has been spent. And so he's going to spend his aim token to reroll 3 dice. It doesn't matter which 3 because he's hunting only for crits since he's already spent his Impact roll and doesn't get another one. So just the 1, just the 2. Oh gosh, it was so close to getting both blocks, but he only gets 1. That leaving the ATST on, I believe, just 1 hit point. I believe it only has 11 health, and that's number 10. This Snowtrooper in the back here is going to be a big damn hero if he gets to run around and Impact Grenade. Oh, but he pulls the ATST token from the pile? Holy cow. That is absolutely insane. That BattleBear didn't order him, but that he does manage to pull it. He only does get 1 action. But please just kill his Veers. Like that would make me so happy. I don't know if it's the tactical play. That big group is already activated. He can't spin because he's damaged, and he only gets a single action. So I think he's just going to have to spend everything he's got into Veers, who with his main gun and the mortar launcher, because they were at range 4 of one another, I think is his only real option. He could use the Twin Light Blaster and go after this Trooper squad. They haven't pulled up the firing arcs yet, but I'm going to imagine that Trooper squad is in arc. I'll be anxious to see how he decides to divide his dice out here, or if at all. For those of you that have been hanging out this whole time, I definitely do appreciate it. Our VOD for YouTube is just crossed the 3-hour and 20-minute mark. So it looks like we are going to throw into the into this Trooper Brigade that's already activated. I like that. SuperNerd did a good job of making sure that since that was his most juicy target, that it was the one that he activated first in case he does get wrecked. Because ATSTs can either do all the damage or none of the damage. They're super swingy in how they show up. Looks like he's just shooting the main gun. Getting 3 hits. It's not the best, but not the worst. Half of his dice. Excuse me, 4 hits. Failing 3 saves, so he does take 3 losses, which is pretty good. That's half the unit. See where that arsenal decides to go. It is the twin light cannon, only generating a single hit. I think he's maybe shooting the same guy. Can't really tell. They are suppressed. That's why it should be. If it's a separate pool, it should be Veers, but he doesn't have range to Veers because the mortar launch the wrong die pool for the mortar launcher. Yeah, you guys can tell after this game after you've been playing, they've been going at it for a good little while. Yeah, they're trying to shoot the mortar launcher. They just loaded the wrong die pool. You start to forget little things. You start to make a few mistakes. It's no big. Everybody does it. It's easy for me because I'm not having to make any critical decisions. I'm just get to sit here and talk about the big what ifs, about what may or may not happen. So it looks like they just end the activation. They're not going to shoot the mortar launcher. We'll see what they decide to do here. Another activation token hasn't been drawn yet. So maybe they will shoot the mortar launcher. Maybe they won't. Yeah, if they could, if he could limit Veers to 1 action, that'd be pretty good. Yep, here we go. They're pinging stuff. Should be 3 white dice. I really like this gun. Oh, God, he blanks out on again. For whatever reason, BattleBear, whenever he picks up 3 white dice and rolls them into a pool together, nothing happens. Absolutely nothing happens. Grabs a suppression token, gives it to Veers because that's a suppressive keyword. Would have been great to give 2, just to keep him on 1 action. He might have another opportunity to attack him this round, unless he activates his Veers right away, which is he's tended to SuperNerd's tended to activate his commanders pretty early, which I don't think is wrong. But we'll see. He's probably going to pull from that pile, activate the loneliest snowtrooper, and have him throw the grenade of his life into this ATST. He's going to take an aim. He's going to take a move. He's going to drop his activation token. and throw a big old impact grenade into the back of this ATST, which will get impact. Well, I don't know if it'll be in the back quadrant, but it'd be pretty funny if he was getting impact 2 on 1 die, on a 1 die attack. But let's bring this mother down. I love watching ATSTs blow up because I never do it. I just kind of ignore them and they go away. And he does get the surge, which goes over to a hit, which the impact keyword turns to a crit. And now the ATST has to make that big money save. And he rolls a white attack die again. It's a blank. We'll see what the defense die says. It is also a blank. So the ATST is removed from the play. And I think that it's all over it with that, other than the screaming. Kind because getting up on victory points at this point is going to be tricky. I think if he could maybe have played for a tie, and then one on points destroyed. But we're gonna hang out. We're gonna see this thing through. Cool decisions are always abound to be made. As this group of 4 stormtroopers gets up and ready. I think for the first time in forever is now suppression free. He's gonna go activate that. Go base to base with the objective. See if he wants to, if he gets a little bloodthirsty, or if he just wants the objective token. I'd like to see him just take the objective token. Seeing as the other 3 have been completely claimed in the favor of red. And it looks like he does. So the score is presently 2-4 and 6-1. Unless this wound token here is on the moisture vaporator, which I don't think it is. I think it maybe is on Veers. Yeah, it is on Veers. What I'd actually really like to see is with his unit cohesion, he may have boxed himself out. I'd love to see this left room for the yellow stormtrooper squad to do the same. But he'll just have to make sure those guys stay alive and get to activate again next round, where they can pull that thing off. I don't know why there's 2 tokens sitting out here. It's a little confusing. But all right, so we're gonna activate this group on the flank for SuperNerd. See what happens here. He's going to probably move up and pressure Veers. I think that's the only real choice he does have. Or he just double moves. But that may also happen. Pushes his guys forward. Usually that's not something you see too many players do, but he wants to make sure he can get a line of sight with as many models as possible. Can't begrudge him that. He does have Veers within range. He's uncovered. You don't get many shots like that. See what they decide to do. Yep. Taking on Veers. Seems good. Don't blame him. It's what I would do. So we get to load up some dice here. It should be 1, 2, 3, 4 white dice, 2 reds, and a partridge and a pear tree. And this is gonna hurt. 5 hits. 5 hits for the Stormtrooper squad. Only missing on 4 hits. Only missing on 2 of their white dice. I can't count apparently today. And we'll see what BattleBear here can manage to roll in defense. Alright, they've undid something. So we wait for the game to re-render here. I wasn't sure what they undid. But looks like Veers' attack the attack into Veers is still in the die pool, so see what these cats are up to. just be a simple roll of 4 red defense dice. Should be the next course of action, maybe? Question mark. Okay, so they've ruled some cover. It looks like he rolls 2 dice, blanks them, and will take 2 wounds. Maybe. I see lots of pointing with pointing out of things. And 2 wounds go down onto Viers. Oh, we're rolling 2 more now, and he gets 1 more block. So maybe they just realized that they rolled 2 and where they were just going to roll the other 2. Looks like that's what it might have been. Oh, he was shooting at the yellow. Okay, that makes sense. He was shooting at the yellow guys. I am wholeheartedly confused to why there's damage tokens there. There should be 1 damage token, or there should be 3 damage tokens on. Okay, 3 damage tokens on the moisture evaporator because he's adding them while I'm used to seeing red removing them. But yeah, there's 3 there. And it looks like that attack was not into Viers, but Viers took damage. Did Viers take damage? Yes, Viers did take damage. So we got a bunch of stacks of damage tokens that we're trying to figure out what to do. There we go. Cool. Sounds good. Excellent. So it looks like he's going to activate BattleBear is now going to activate his Viers model. He's going to take a speed 1. He's going to go on a lovely little walk. He kind of boxed himself out of getting into base to base with it. I was afraid he kind of might, since troopers cannot displace other troopers. You see this happen from time to time where you just kind of like haphazardly put stuff into cohesion. And you realized, oh darn, I can't, like when you move your own unit, you can just kind of pick up all your guys and move them around. But when you're blocked off by one of your other units, they've got to stay put. So like Viers is going to go a different direction now, which means he can go speed 2 if he wants to. But no, he's going to just take a little stroll. Take his little damage tokens with him. And he's either going to hand out some aim tokens, but everything around him is pretty much already shot, so I imagine he's going to... okay, that was the suppression from the ranged attack. Alright. And then it looks like he's just going to go into a Viers off. Everyone loves a Viers off. So they start measuring range from one Viers to another. Viers does have 1 suppression token, so he will get cover. That'll get taken away by Sharpshooter. Getting to use that talent to its full ability. And that's really where you want Viers, is shooting at things that just have suppression tokens that are out in the open. Viers, he can't. Whenever he rolls 3 white dice, he can't roll damage. He's rolled perfectly good dice. BattleBear's rolled perfectly great dice other times during the course of today's game, but on that mortar launcher shots and every time Viers is shot, he has just thrown. Anytime 3 white dice have been rolled, they've been blanks. I find that like kind of sad and kind of amusing. We'll see who SuperNerd here chooses to activate. He's got a bunch of squads still left to go. Grand total of 5 activations, 4 after this one. Not really sure what his plan is. This point, you just need to take out. I don't really think. I think you just take a bunch of dodge tokens. You're in a single elimination bracket, so you know, like all the extra victory points no longer matter. And if you just take a bunch of dodge tokens, I don't think he can get the 5 more points that he needs to clench a victory from you. I don't think he's got enough activations. But we're going to take some models off the board because it's a war game. Throwing dice and killing stuff's fun. It's what I've been told. So he gets up base to base with the terrain to not have to pay the heavy cover penalty when shooting, but still getting it defensively. I imagine we're here going to see a yellow trooper go away as he takes an aim token for his second action, and then after his move action, he gets the steady shot, throwing a 1-hit, getting a reroll with his aim token into a surge, which is another hit for a grand total of 2. We need both of these to go through. Only one does, so that unit is gone. Yep, that's another activation down for BattleBear. One that he kind of desperately needed because his order token for him was on the board, and so it's now gone. Which relieves him, I believe, with just the orange set of troopers left. He's got five guys and veers on the board. It is all over but the Cryon. But let's see what these orange guys can do. Can they get vengeance on this little snow trooper for their fallen ATST comrade? I imagine that's the play. Oh, he's just going to run up and punch him, maybe? That'd be awesome. The TTS movement tool doing TTS movement tool things, where it's like, you want to climb the building, don't you? You know you want to. Now we've snapped it in half, as happens frequently. Snaps itself together pretty well. It wants to put you on top of this building. Yeah, this gap is so small. If any part of the template goes on top of a building, it wants to go in the air. Yep, as they just start pinging what's going on. Sounds good. Getting some sweet vengeance. Yeah, reflecting back on this game, some kind of closing thoughts, even though we've still got another turn to play. But I think it's fairly well settled. I think the setup and the deployment, SuperNerd definitely managed to wield to his advantage a little bit stronger. Not to say that was setup and deployment was it. Where they both players chose to put their commanders really shaped the game, and I think SuperNerd got the better exchange of the first turn and the start of the second turn. But then things really started to swing back with a bunch of damage on the Vader for BattleBear. 3 damage comes out into that group, killing the last lone snow trooper who brought down the ATST. He'll be remembered a hero. But then once everything kind of got locked in place, I think the lack of losing those big DLTs early on to Darth Vader really slowed down the damage output of BattleBear, and BattleBear was a little bit slower to get entrenched in objectives. And And at the end of the day, this is an objective-based game, and he took a lot of damage to get there. What I would really actually like to see from this list is remove Veers' upgrades. He's not used them. That's 15 points. Pull all but 2 of these impact grenades for another 20 points. So that's 35 points. And long-range comms and the mortar launcher off the ATST, or just long-range comms off the ATST. And that's another group of troopers. Or that's a whole bunch of extra bodies in the groups of troopers you have. I think there's a lot of upgrades that didn't get used this game, and if you're going to pay for them, you need to make sure that you use them, and you need to obviously, like, I don't begrudge him the grenades because he actually did use them quite well. But I think another group of troopers and being able to out-activate his opponent would have been a little handier. So here we've got an almost full group of troopers, the ones that were shot by Blizzard 1, moving up to take a pot shot at Veers. Okay, dice come out. Yeah, those are pretty good dice for a grand total of 4 hits. He does have cover 1 because of the suppression token, rolling 3 red dice, although he grabs 4. But getting all 4, no, one of those is a surge, so getting 3 blocks. I don't think it, if they want to re-roll this, they can, but it doesn't look like they're going to, which is fine. I don't think, like I said, it doesn't. It's all over but the hootin' and hollering. I'd really like to see another group of troopers in here. Maybe even dropping the double ion gun, because that's almost a group of troopers each, and really start to zerg this stuff out with lots of activations. Leaving the ATST, I think the ATST is fine, and I think it gives you enough anti-vehicle in its own right, with all of its impact abilities to get the job done. Leaving some impact grenades, and I like the impact grenades on the snow troopers especially because they can double move and throw grenades. And they're a little bit faster than stormtroopers who need to just move once at a faster speed and throw grenades. I think moving over to the other list, I like it. Environmental gear was a great option. And running the double commander, I like. I don't know that I love the snow troopers here. I think he should just drop them down to regular stormies to get a few more points and to maybe get some extra bodies. But that's just me. He's used them relatively well, but all the upgrades, which sometimes were used, sometimes weren't, is a little troublesome. But I do like that list a lot with double commander. I think Vader's more worth his points than the ATST, and I don't think the ATST here had a great army built around to support it. I would also like to see maybe some bikes, just to zip around and harass these backlines where there's just a few troopers lingering about. So here we've got a group of stormtroopers taking another pot shot to suppress these guys down who are on the objective, to maybe make them have that as their only action next turn. We shall see. But both lists I think performed reasonably well. I think the fat could get trimmed off a little bit of them. But that's what we've got to do, is we've got to play the game and figure out what we need and what we don't. And that's just what it takes. It takes getting reps at the table. It takes sitting down at the board and testing things out, and seeing what you really need and what you don't and how you need to move things around. Because this by no means this is a closer game than the score or the board state would reflect. I think a couple things go differently, a couple dice rolls go differently, especially in that crucial turn 3, and this is a very different game. I still love this map on how clumped it is and how we don't need a third of it. That is amazing to me. So much stuff in the middle here. But both players played a nice, clean, good game. Few mistakes made on both sides. I will say this in BattleBear's defense, the few little snafus and mistakes and things we have had, they haven't been huge issues, but most of them have gone against him. So just a word to the viewers, when you guys are playing Veers or you're playing Leia, remember inspiring. It's super good, super handy. You should not forget it. We got these troopers here moving up, seeing what kind of cool angle they can get. It's like they're taking a suppression token for some reason. They're pulling up. Oh, they're trying to go with range bands. Looks like he's got grenades on Blue Squad. And I believe this is a group with concussion grenades, which is excellent because it gets rid of that heavy cover, which means he can still shoot his DLT into that group, because as long as you throw one concussion grenade, the blast quality is added to your dice pool, so he can roll all the black dice and still get the DLT and still ignore the cover. It is a pretty, just concussion grenades are pretty sick. He throws a grand total of 5 hits. He has no aim token, so those will have to stay. As long as it looks like we need 2 saves from BattleBear here to keep that unit alive. He does not get the 2 saves, and he was short a die. But it's not a huge deal, because even so, they're going to roll the 5th die, it looks like. And oosh, it fails too, meaning that group is gone. And that was really his only hope at points. I'd be interested to see if they're going to play out turn 6. I would not be surprised if they do not, because this has been a pretty long game as is. They've been chatty guys from what I can tell from watching the waveforms in the. Yep, it looks like they're pinging victory points. So the score is currently 6-1 in favor of SuperNerd on Steam, or SuperNerd on the Legion Discord. Good game by both players. BattleBear, I really like how he worked this map, which wasn't super great for him, and he really tried to work it to his advantage. He found the perfect spot to wedge and nestle that ATST, still managing to get the Blizzard attack off of on Veers. And it's yeah, I think they're kind of having a post-game discussion. I don't know that they're actually going to finish, because I think they're talking about some key moments. That moment with in the center with Vader was quite good. And I think we are gonna wrap up our broadcast. So thanks for everybody for tuning in. If you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for watching. I'd love some comments, some critiques. Tell me I'm terrible. Tell me what you'd like to see more of. Both players put up a good game. It was super tight until it wasn't, but Legion can be that way, where there comes a breaking point. And I think that breaking point was when this squad of troopers came around the corner through here. And this fight just started to go sour. I think the tide of momentum really pushed away, and the one lifeline that BattleBear had in the ATST could not roll a defense die to save his life. Literally, because he died because of it. So guys, thanks for coming. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to the SuperNerd and BattleBear for letting me cast their game. They were great guys to talk to, even though I didn't get to hear them half the time. And I will hopefully be getting to cast more of these single elimination bracket games. If you guys are playing in the Invader League and you have a single elimination bracket game you would like to be cast, please contact me. TalkPolite's doing a great job of keeping me in the loop on when games are going to be played. So if my work schedule allows, I can show up and cast them. But please let me know when you're playing your games. I would love to cast them. Hopefully I can get some of my co-casters here from the Stabcast. If you're not familiar with our podcast, you should definitely check it out. We release episodes about every 2 weeks. We should have one out here in a couple of hours, hopefully. And I've got our audio editor working on it as we speak. And we have a pretty casual podcast where we talk about Legion-y things. Thanks for stopping by, everybody.